Is that or not? Because they're getting pretty good about that type of stuff now. Ooh, we're fancy now. Okay. And then when you do that, I can create a post and I can share the video. Dude, look at us professionals. We're schmoving. Uh-oh, I need to fix my sound. The audio, like you, are coming through my headset. The sound from Discord itself comes through on my speakers. What the hell? What? Okay, let's try that. I just want, like, dings happening all day. Oh, there you are. The audio, you are... Oh, we're already live. Like they can hear us. Oh, I don't think so, because I just heard us talking. They just saw all that good stuff. They sure did. They just seen all this stuff.
That's bad. I literally
you were spilling the sauce and the pudding and put it all up there.
I literally was talking about. Okay, so if you guys don't know,
what is happening? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good now. We're good. I promise. We were having a conversation about. I'm not muted anymore. We're good now. We're having a conversation, and I was accidentally on that person's DMs because I was DMing them last, and I meant to voice call you, and instead I voice called him. So I was like, wait, no, wrong person. But all right, guys. Well,
how y'all doing? Hello.
How's everyone doing? Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. I am so excited. We officially have hit 5K subs. Thank you guys all so much for the love and the support. This is a great day. And of course, who else but to celebrate with us? We've got
who else?
Who else but Mason with Cardinal Games. Finally, after constant neglection, he has decided to come on. No, I'm just kidding.
I've been sleeping on you. I didn't know. No one told me. I mean,
oh yeah.
Sorry. I'm recording.
He's like,
apparently.
I don't listen to these people. He's like, people have been telling me. I've just been ignoring those people. This guy seems kind of like a fraud. Like, let's be real here. Like,
he's probably doing fine without. Doesn't need my help.
No help needed. Just glad to have you on, brother. It's always nice to pick brain.
Hello. Hi. I'm gonna try to I'm gonna turn on this light right here. Maybe that'll help the heavenly effect stop happening. Okay, that's a little better. Looks a little okay.
I think we're good. I think we're good.
Look,
but
20 minutes into the stream, we're good.
We're good. We're good. Roll. Hey, it was like a 15-minute countdown timer, so we're chilling.
Press the start button.
We're chilling. But I want to start off once again, as always. If you are not entering into our weekly giveaways, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. We've got 3 winners, and since you can comment and like on each video, that allows you for multiple opportunities to both enter and win. But I don't think you really need an introduction, but I will still let you have an introduction without further ado. Who are you? And let's have a conversation about it.
Oh, I'm giving my own introduction.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. Hey, hello, everyone. I am Mason. I have a little YouTube channel called Cardinal Gaming. I own 2 LGSs in Louisville, Kentucky, and I put a lot of content about Pokemon and distribution and kind of the ins and outs of running a game store and like the realities of and the non-glamorous parts of it, and just try to tell people about what's going on and how things are in the real world that you don't get to see on the other side of the counter of your local game store. So that's kind of my vibe. That's what I do. And yeah, happy to be on with you, just hanging out on a Tuesday.
Man, you got 2 game stores? That's sick. How long ago did you open up the second one?
May is since it's been 6 months already. Sheesh. Yeah, since May we've had a second location. So 2 spots in Louisville now. So big deal. Big expensive deals.
Well, that's really exciting. So what caused you to open up the second location? Like, at what point, I should say, did you feel comfortable enough for where you were like, all right, first shop's doing well enough, it's time for another one?
Well, at the time, Pokemon it's been popping off. So, it's always been a big attractor to my store. And we're on the south end of Louisville, and we're trying to branch out, get some more demographics and other people that don't want to make the drive. And it's kind of as a first spot when you grow into a space, sometimes you just land in, it's not the greatest spot. You just get what you can afford at the time, and then you sign that 5-year lease, and you're just like, well, here we are, we're stuck here for at least 5 years now. And then so the other location, it's in like the exact opposite part of town. It's very expensive. It's like twice as expensive for a third of the space, so that's cool. Really great for margins. But no, it's trying to get more coverage and more blanket of the area, and kind of alleviate the main issue that a lot of people had, was just like the location and how difficult it was and travel time to get to the original store. So the idea was to put it across town and a different area, so you kind of pick and choose which one you want to go to, kind of get the same experience like that. So that's the idea behind the second location.
That's
It's been it's been slow, and I've talked about this on my channel a little bit about kind of building a base, and it's like starting all over. It's like opening a store for the first time. You kind of get a leg up because people know that you're out there from your other location. But as far as like local people like that aren't like your core diehards that are into that kind of stuff, for somebody to just stumble upon you is kind of difficult to have just happen organically without time. Like a grand opening where you're just going to flood of 2,000 people, that's not realistic. That's not a real thing. So just trying to get people in the door and see what we're about and kind of rely on us and know that we're there just anytime. A lot of people stop in and say hey, and then kind of forget about you, or stop in if you're just building it up for the first time. I'm like, oh well, maybe in 6 months I'll have it all together or something. Little do they know, that's just how it is. Sorry, but the whole idea is just building a base, and there's no really way to do that organically other than just the time of being there and just word of mouth and people learning that you're there. So that's the struggle with opening a second location. Yeah, you kind of give a little boost, but I mean, a lot of people just say, "Oh, I love being you're on my side of town now," and it's just like, yeah, cool. That's that was the whole idea. That was the plan. So that's the drive, the motivation there, and like I said, it's doing a lot better than it was, obviously first couple months, but we're getting there now to where we're just getting the people that stop in weekly and come say hey, and the regulars that were not regulars otherwise at the other location. So we're kind of getting our own regulars out here now, which is nice.
So for your first location, what would you say your general main source of revenue was? Like, you're like, this is my bread and butter, this is what makes us the most money to survive.
The big part of it is always going to be I mean, I'm passionate about Pokemon. That's like how I started my business. That's the whole vibe that I started with was Pokemon. Obviously, we do a lot with. We're so diversified. We have a wide range of products that we do video games. We do D&D. We do all the stuff that we've branched into since starting our store, and all that stuff really helps out a lot. So I would still say it's a large part of it is Pokemon for sure. But everything helps. We also do something else that somebody that maybe wouldn't otherwise have in their stores. We do repairs on game systems, so that's a big part of kind of just like it's a service. So there's not a lot of cash input that I have to sink into there. It's not like an $80 booster box I have to drop your money into, or $80 to get $100 back kind of deal. It's just like it's a service that kind of makes a better profit margin on that, so that helps out a ton as well as doing repairs. So between the repairs and Pokemon for the past years that have always been good breadwinners for us. It's that little bit of a repairs that definitely helps us do more with what we would traditionally otherwise not be able to do if we were just a regular, like, we do cards and video games kind of thing that you see so often.
So in terms of general segments of Pokemon, what would you say has been the best for you? Would it be just general in-store, storefront, sealed, online, bulk in-store, bulk online? Is there a certain segment, events, that kind of you would say that really has crushed it for you in that regard as well?
Yeah, I mean, sealed is great. Sealed is schmovin'. So it's always good to have that just constant little injection of new stuff and the rollover every 3 months. That's awesome. But singles are huge. We do a lot with Magic on singles with TCGPlayer. We're part of the Direct program, so we do a lot through there. And our little robot friend is doing its best and just really trying to keep up with that. The robot is outpacing us as far as how fast we can list. So, which I guess is a bad situation to have. But
What
it's
do you,
good
what do you mean the
I have that stuff.
robot? Do you want to elaborate for people?
The Roka sorter that we have, it's a card sorting robot that you can throw cards into. You set parameters, and then it'll sort it however you want. And then you can set it to be, hey, pull out everything that's over $1, or anything that's maybe a rare or mythic. Dump all those into a section. So it's kind of like a nice customizable way. It's based off of, well, it's built on the back end of Scryfall, but it's now part of the TCGPlayer family umbrella of things that they've been gobbling up here recently. So that was cool, and we've had that robot for, probably, I got 4 years maybe. I mean, we've had it for a long time. So way before TCGPlayer was even a part of it. So yeah, been throwing bulk through that bad boy for a while, and that's a big part of it that helps us out too.
How many Rokas do you have at this point?
Oh, I just have one. Just one.
Have you ever?
I would love to have another one.
Just
one,
not,
two, three,
just not there
more.
yet.
It's just like I said, we aren't keeping up with what it's outputting currently, so that would just require more manpower as opposed to more robot power. So that's the thing that's really holding us back as far as that goes.
Do you think a big portion of that has to do with your guys' system and how you sell bulk, or do you think it's a market issue, or what do you think is kind of the driving force in that?
The inefficiencies of us just not being good. Is that what you mean? Or no, it's
like, what in your mind do you think you really need to correct or work on in order to be like, all right, the Roka is at max efficiency, let's get another one?
Yeah. For the Roka to be at max efficiency, we would have to be at max efficiency. So yeah, it's a lot of column A, column B of just like, okay, we want to be as efficient as we can to handle as least cards as possible while extracting the value. It's like panning for gold. All the stuff that you know is trash, you're going to throw out before you send it through, the sifting pan. So a lot of it is front-end work that we hope to make the machine more efficient, when in reality, like I said, if we can't keep up with the machine, it's kind of a wash if we aren't being productive enough anyways to keep up with it. So yeah, a lot of it is just after 4 years and 3 POSs and 2 systems of trying to organize all this stuff, we have a lot of practices that don't gel together sometimes.
And do you use the Roka to sift, or do you have another device you use?
No, we condition sort, and then we Roka the vast majority of the actual sorting of it. So that's what the main crux of what the man hour goes into is the condition sorting, which is a pain, but that's what you got to do when you sell direct.
So everyone who I've had on the podcast, I always ask them this question every time, just because I want to get everyone's different perspective. But each person has their own kind of model in which they like to sell cards, whether it be a minimum. They won't sell a card on TCG Direct unless it's over a certain amount. They have a certain system on how they get rid of the cards under a certain amount. What is your kind of just general structure on bulk? Like, what's your minimum you're going to list a card at, or what's the minimum card that you're going to filter out and then try and get rid of? Like, can you kind of walk through that process for me?
Man, you're like wanting me to reveal the sauce here.
Oh, is this it? Are you the sauce master?
I'm definitely not the sauce master. I'm not doing, but yeah, there's a process that we go about of sorting things, and this is what we found to be the best right now. And again, we've muddled around with all kinds of stupid ways of doing things, but this is what we do currently, which we think is the most efficient for going through the 2 million cards that we have. First step is to throw everything through the Roka and have it pull out anything that is a moving card, which is what we deem to be 15 cents or more on TCGPlayer. That's the types of things that we can regularly expect and kind of focus down to being maximum time efficiency and things that are actually selling. So we don't end up with just, we have 200,000 cards on TCGPlayer, but we only sell 50,000 of those on a regular basis. So that's the step one, is getting the 15 centers from the everything else. Everything else is bulk, as we call it, and it goes sits in a corner, the other corner from the unsorted stuff. And then we focus down the 15-cent cards, and then condition sort them, and then send them through to be set sorted, so they can go through and be put and thrown in the boxes. And then we sort our stuff based on how TCGPlayer Direct has their stuff set. So they do it a little differently from how the sets are organized and stuff like that. You can actually go in the back end of TCGPlayer Pro and get the set lists how they have it, because they have all the all the commander sets are all the same. All the specialty sets they're set differently. They're not chronological order. They have it differently. And then the other way that is complicated, but ultimately speeds up the process of pulling cards, is to condition sort them in set boxes as well, so that we don't have the same card of near mint and light play together. We have them in a separate box, so that whenever we go to pull a card, it's only the near mint stuff in that spot where it is. It is a lot more effort and a lot more work, but on the back end, and we hope that long term that is the proper way to do it, and is peak efficient when you go to pull those cards back out of the system. So building the infrastructure is taking hundreds of hours, but over the years and years that we are in business, it should save us those hours back, and hopefully more so, right? That's the dream. So that's the pain, but yeah.
So all the cards that are under 15 cents, what do you do with all of those cards?
Well, they sit and hang out. We don't do anything with them right now.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Actually?
No. Yeah.
Oh, dang. That's crazy. So that's probably one of the biggest things from a scaling perspective in terms of inventory and being able to store all of that.
Yeah. I have on our back wall in the back of the store, we have Mount St. Bulk. Basically 5 rows stacked two deep against the wall. So stacks of 2, and then they're about definitely not OSHA regulated, but
oh my gosh,
they're I think they're 16 boxes high is what we maxed out at. So collectively we probably have somewhere in the range of over 3 million cards of bulk, but of Magic specifically we have probably 2 million.
Oh my gosh. And you're still just kind of at the process right now of trying to figure out what to do with those? Or do you have a plan for it at some point?
This is the plan. This is it. This is, you have a mountain of what should be gold, and you're going at it with like I said, you have your gold pan against this mountain, and you're just, all right.
But I mean, you're gonna have to get rid of that 3 million at some point, right?
Yes.
What's the inevitable plan for that?
I don't know.
Oh, you're still trying to figure that part out?
Still, I mean, yeah. There's some. I mean, obviously, there's some places that will buy it and do whatever with it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Until we get a huge amount of it, we're just it's just hanging out.
Yeah.
It's like the we'll sort through like Pokémon. Just do commons and non-commons of just the Pokemon, right? And then everything else is typically sellable, but commons and uncommons of just the Pokemon themselves, not so, typically. So it's the same kind of thing where that's just the bulkiest of the bulk. And it's hanging out too.
Dang. Well, that sounds like a fun process itself. So definitely kind of a learning.
You know, it's definitely look, I got my best guys on it. That's how it's got to go.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah. I mean, how do you tackle 3 million cards? It's a robot in a dream.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
And that robot can, I mean, what, 25, 40 a week, maybe, if you're talking about max efficiency every 2 hours, flipping, having another tray ready. So it's like, I mean, that with 3 million, I mean, that, let's say you can get it to 150,000 a month. That right there is going to take you 20 months just to be able to sort that 3 million.
I wish it took me that much. If it only takes us 20 months, that's the dream.
All right, but that's only if you were to sort that and not take any additional bulk in. So it's like,
yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy though.
Well, no, this was during the pandemic, so it would have been during that we took in a donation to a charity group that basically takes commons and donates them to children, and you know, makes little bundles and gives them off to places like you know, orphanages and you know, places that would enjoy these types of things. But they had magic cards, and they don't want to donate magic cards. A lot of places won't take magic cards because of the, you know, imagery on them. Because when, you know, you're donating like churches, you know, stuff.
Right.
Stuff like
No.
that.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
They don't want that stuff. So, what we're doing for them is going through all the donations of what they have, and then we give them that back in store credit to get like Pokemon or whatever with, you know, more friendly things. And they dropped off 1.2 million cards to us during that time.
Oh.
It was actually it was a project for a kid in California. It was like his Eagle Scout big project. And yeah, they sent us somewhere in the range of like 150 large flat rate boxes in a U-Haul.
Oh my gosh.
Delivered it to us.
That's crazy.
So that's how we got so much bulk.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a fun time. So, you know, obviously, yeah. I don't want this full conversation to be about the bulk operation. So let's.
Can, but
I mean, yeah. I mean,
definitely talk about it.
But let's change the topic a little bit, just
Sure.
to kind of, you know, not put everyone to sleep if you're not interested in this kind of thing. What is your current thought process on the current market, on where Pokemon is right now? I hear a lot of different opinions on people saying where they believe it's at, whether it be positive, negative, whatever. So what's your kind of opinion on the direction it's going, especially with everything with the supply shortages of booster boxes and such?
Do you want to talk broadly, or you want to just like, you want to do just modern? You want to do labs?
Good question. Let's say modern. Let's say what's just going on right now in the current market of modern, ultra modern.
It's I've never seen a time where there is a shortage of booster boxes, but an abundance of all the other products. Typically, when Pokemon goes to print things, they keep their little slush back to put in their little, you know, the bundles and the premium box, and they'll have that from the initial runs that they do. But for them to take all that slush stuff and put them into sleeve boosters, instead of cranking out like booster boxes, it seems kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing. So typically, you know, when you get restocks of things, you're getting them either ETBs or you're getting them in booster boxes. You know, the most efficient for them, easiest to ship kind of situation. Why they would go through all the trouble to print so much of this into these. I don't like building battle stadiums anyways, but they exist. They're a thing. You know, building battle boxes themselves, just all the other just other stuff that they make, all these SKUs of all these different things. It just seems like it's really inefficient from their perspective to put the time and effort into that. Obviously, they're the billion-dollar company, not me. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Well,
to think there's just so much more of all those things and not of booster boxes.
Well, I don't know if you've been talking to your distributors, or if, I mean, you've probably seen some, I won't say names, but some of them have been doing some flash sales for the stadiums. And one of the things I thought was quite interesting was I've been hearing reports that they're potentially going to be getting rid of the stadiums altogether because they feel as if they've just been sitting. Because, I mean, if you just do the math on like the breakdown of a stadium versus just buying 2 build and battle kits and then getting an additional 4 packs, you're actually getting it for less than if you're getting it in the box itself. And not to mention too, the shipping on that is so much more. And so for me, it seems like they're kind of heading in the direction of that. And then with my most recent video, with one of these other distributors as well, as I mentioned, with reports of there going to be potentially booster box reprints in the future in the next like 2 months or so, with a bunch of backorder pre-release kits being available, it has me to believe that all these build and battle kits that have been sitting on a lot of distros for the longest time that haven't been moving are being bundled up with booster boxes, since, you know, pre-release kits, you know, comes with a display of the build and battles plus a booster box, and they're just trying to more or less get rid of them, because why would they have pre-release kits on back order for purchase when typically that's something that's given out as a pre-release event for local game stores? So that's kind of what my more or less running theory is on that. I mean, I got confirmation from distro regardless that we're going to be having booster boxes reprinted pretty soon here, but at the same time, it just seems to kind of line up because, like you were just saying, build and battle kits, like why would they ever do that when it comes to the general demand of how that's been going right now in the market and them getting rid of stadiums? It's all just kind of going towards the direction of, hey, this isn't kind of working out. Booster boxes and ETBs are kind of the moving product.
Yeah, I mean, I could see what they were trying to do with stadiums. They were trying to basically be able to have a cushion of build and battles for the pre-release kits for LGSs, and they wanted an out to be able to print those to a decent amount, but then also a way to move them to like mass market. And you know, they used to dump build and battles to, you know, GameStop. You know, they would stock them all the time and have them in stores. But the stadiums were probably, they were like, oh, this is like a cool idea for a product, and it is a cool idea for a product if this was a primarily playing TCG and not a collectible TCG. It's a great idea for a product. It's expensive for what it is, and it's not very entertaining because it's like a twice as, well, more than twice as expensive Pokemon Battle Academy, but without the fun and the cool Pokemon that everybody likes. So it's just like it's a weird product to just be like, here, play a 2-person pre-release at home. It's just a weird product. So if they're doing away with stadiums, I think it makes sense. I can sell, you know, build and battles for $15 if I have to, you know, and then that'd be fine. Yeah, obviously the stadiums were for mass market, and mass market did not take to them, I don't think.
And then what is your kind of general thoughts on my theory that I have for them with the build and battle kits and the pre-releases? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
What was it?
So I won't name the name, obviously, but there's been distributors that have been putting back orders for pre-release kits, and there seems to be a large amount of them from multiple different sets. And I've gotten confirmation from one of my distros that there's going to be booster box reprints coming. However, if you look at the product on distributors pages, the majority of what's in stock, build and battle stadiums, build and battle kits. I'm saying it makes sense to me that they're potentially going to be bundling these in pre-release kits as a hope to kind of move the build and battles before they reprint the booster boxes. Because typically pre-release kits obviously are released before the set itself comes out as an event for local game stores.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't. That would make sense to me. Because because that's how they come. They come with the booster box and the energies and the 10 kits into a pre-release kit for a store. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see where that doesn't make sense. I don't know. You know, it's all just a theory.
It's all
right?
speculation, obviously.
But I think another thing too, I've talked about this in the last live I did, was that the market in general, I think, is, I don't want to say too efficient, but like we could turn through some booster boxes if like between all the online sellers and all the big stores out there and all that, like we're moving some product. Like things are flying. Obviously, there's still a huge demand for packs and booster boxes, and people still want to open and have fun. Still really enjoying Modern, of course, right? So I think all these businesses out there that are just so happy and content to be making $20 a case off of Pokemon and just slapping a label on a case and shipping it, you know, catching it from the distribution and then throwing it out with a new label on it. There's so many people that are just doing that we are burning through product, I think, probably faster than what Pokemon expected us to, especially with Silver Tempest. I feel like we're too efficient at moving product now. People aren't buying booster packs 3 at a time anymore. 3 for 10 is done, but but people aren't buying boxes anymore. They're buying cases, and you know, let's duct tape 4 cases together and ship them off with a single label and save us even more money, so we can sell cases for $15 a case instead of the $20. It's just, we're just getting too efficient, and so efficient at going through all this product so fast that I think it honestly probably caught Pokemon off guard. They're just like, man, they already went through all that. Jeez. And I think that's a lot of it has to do with just the demand for these larger form factor. Obviously, the most concentrated and price effective way to get a booster pack is in a booster box. So those are like the primo products now, whereas before they're not meant for widespread distribution. You know, that's why they're not in game store. You know, in Walmart's and Targets and stuff. They're to have for stores to run events with, right? And we've gotten so used to them being the primo product now that is what a majority of the buyers are focusing on, is booster boxes. So I think that is a fundamental change of buying habits that we have seen now, especially with a lot of people wanting to speculate on stuff and buy 4 boxes and then open 2 and stash 2 away. You know, it's that kind of mentality too that is pushing so much product being moved at one time. I don't think it's not been that way forever.
Do you think that 2 questions with that? 1, do you think that general shift in the market is a healthy thing? And then 2, what is your kind of thoughts on the general overarching statement that the Pokemon Company obviously made? I mean, they made it a long time ago, but in terms of just addressing shortages on product supply, booster boxes, printing to demand to get to retailers, obviously as it stands right now, we haven't seen booster boxes on distro pages for a while now. What do you think in terms of the direction that things are going right now with that transition? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? And then what are your kind of thought processes on, quote unquote, printing to demand? Or do you think there's a sense of stability in the market that is needed where we're just kind of sitting at these prices for booster boxes as they should be? Like, what is your kind of general thought process around that?
You have to give the market what it wants, but also with the idea of just slapping a label on something, there are no margins to be had from the sellers. So obviously that is very good for consumers to stack these things and be able to afford them. But I don't know how you would stop that from happening. What are you gonna do? Make a booster box that is 3 times the size? Or I mean, how do you make that how do you keep that from happening? How do you keep people from wanting that over an ETB or over a the bundles. I love the bundles. I think they're a cute little product. The 6-packs in a single box, I think that's really cool. But they're, from a storage standpoint and from a production standpoint, even for Pokemon, it's not efficient. Booster boxes should be the most efficient way and cash effective way to move a product as fast as possible. I think it was just probably a matter of just not allocating the packs correctly, and I think that they probably underproduced booster boxes for these other products potentially. It's to say it's healthy. I mean, I don't know what's healthy, whatever that means, but it's definitely a shift that is happening, and is what people are wanting to buy. I don't know about as far as healthy, but it is definitely what is happening.
Well, I guess when I say what is healthy, I'm talking about it from your general perspective as a local game store. Obviously, like you were saying, slapping a label on it, shipping it, there's no really margins to be made. But however, hypothetically speaking, right, if let's say you were sitting on cases and cases of booster boxes at these prices and you were having to, of course, sell online, obviously you're going to make more in store. But if you were someone that was just predominantly online, there's at least margin to be made there. I guess I'm more or less saying, do you think that printing to demand and seeing booster boxes, sitting at below $100 is the healthiest point? Or is there like a price point in mind where you're like, hey, I think the Pokemon company should print product until it gets to this point, so there's at least a little bit more marginal breathing room for local game stores to have, since this is the way in which the market's shifting?
As cute and as awesome of a sentiment as that is, I don't see that happening. Like, there's not a scenario where we have an abundance of booster boxes where they're readily available and they're not at just, percentage points above what wholesale is. It's just not. That's not a reality that we can live in. Especially with, online is where you're going to move volume. So, there's outside of like making another product or gating booster boxes to LGSs only. That'd be rough. That'd be rough for a lot of people if they did something like that. If you had to be like in the organized play program to get booster boxes, that'd be rough.
Yeah,
right? That'd hurt a lot of people. That would be a way to control the prices, though, is to make sure that the people that are using them is getting them. That's a wild thought. That's just out of the blue, man. That's scary.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like you're saying, obviously, like it's a cute idea that we could ever see prices above that. But I mean, do you think if there was in a perfect world, like there is a price point in which you're like, hey, if the Pokemon company could only print, I mean, think about like Evolving Skies, for example, right? We obviously had a small print of Evolving Skies not that long ago, and we saw the price go from $200 down to as low as, $125, $130 for a brief period of time before it went back up again. So if it printed larger, then it probably would have gone down to more in the low 100s, but it wasn't. It was a very small print, and we still saw a mass price drop with that. Do you think there's more or less something that could be done to kind of address that, to where, let's say hypothetically, we do get mass reprints, because the Pokemon company historically loves to kind of do it all at once, like we saw with last year at the end of 2021, or sorry, technically 2 years ago now. Do you see there being an effective way to kind of more or less make it to where, hey, we're going to print, but it's only going to be a small enough print to where it drops the price a little bit, so that distros can at least pass on prices to retailers to make some margin? Because if hypothetically speaking, right, where you're like, it's a dream shot, we're just going to see prices, absolutely plummet, and it's going to be only a couple of percentages above wholesale, then obviously it's not necessarily beneficial from the LGS's perspective. And with, a quote unquote potential recession on the loom, and LGS is obviously being kind of the lifeline for Pokemon, predominantly with Pokemon Play and such, I feel like that's something that Pokemon's at least aware enough to consider. But I don't know, like you said, it's all hypothetical.
Yeah, what was the set that you were mentioning about the
Evolving Skies? Evolving Skies?
I figured that's what you were talking about. It's so fascinating, right? Where we had ETBs being blown out at Sam's Club, Costco's, and the booster box price did not go down. The booster box price went up when that was happening. What a bizarre scenario of things to happen, where whatever distributor, or if it was Pokemon themselves working directly with Sam's, I don't know what the chain is there, but what a world that we live in, where people were dumping ETBs for that at Sam's Clubs and Costco's, when the booster boxes were still $200 a box. That's weird to me. That's what makes me think that it was just a long-standing production mentality that they came up with that ultimately did not work, because obviously those products were being dumped and booster boxes were still going up. And when I, as a LGS, was not able to get those same ETBs that were being fire sold, that makes me think the whole chain was all wacky for a while, and maybe still is wacky, where they were just maybe either producing the wrong products or inefficiently producing those products or whatever. But what a weird time, especially with Evolving Skies, especially with the demand for that product. When I had Evolving Skies ETBs on my shelf for $60, and I was selling them when they were still doing the Sam's Club and Costco's deals. Like, what is happening with the market to cause that to happen? It's a very unique scenario, and obviously a very unique product, unique set, right? That would not happen with any other product other than Evolving Skies. But it was weird to me, fascinating to me. And they had Chilling Rain ETBs. I couldn't order a Chilling Rain ETB for a year, 6 months, and they were in these bundles at Sam's Club. I'm like, where did these come from? Who was sitting on these? It's weird.
Same thing with Costco. I don't know if you remember the Costco deals where they had the get a tin if you buy a Chilling Rain ETB. It was like $38. Mm-hmm. Do you know? So then obviously, like you just said, you don't really see that being a situation with other sets. So hypothetically speaking, right? If you were to get a similar small reprint as the one we got for Evolving Skies not too long ago, do you think that the price would collapse a lot more, or do you think it would find a point in the market where there's still profit to be made for the LGSs?
I'm
just trying to find a point of equilibrium in your mind where there can be a healthy balance between, hey, I can sell product as an LGS and make money doing this without getting crushed by the fact that reprints are coming and I'm going to have to sit on this product that's going to make minimal margins in your mind.
I don't think in the current way that it is, it can't.
Yeah.
It's not a thing. Unless if they gate certain products, or say, hey, this is an early release for organized play stores, whatever. There's no way. The people that are operating out of their house, and me operating out of a 7,000 square foot store with 9 employees and all this extra things I have to pay for.
7,000.
We have different ideas of acceptable margins on that. So.
Right.
And that's not a their problem. That's a me problem. Yeah. I have too much overhead. They're doing it better than me. So that is the system is set up to support those people because it's just so easy.
Right.
Well, as opposed to me that I got to run events. I got to do all these things just to get free prize packs to give out to people. I mean, what?
Right. Well, and that's the thing, though, is the Pokemon Company, their number one thing that they've always discussed is the player comes first. They've always talked about that. So if you talk about that from an LGS perspective, I'm not saying you in general, but if you're looking at it from their perspective, then why is it that you do have access for a lot of these online retailers to sell product, and there's no margins to be made for those local game stores, and they're trying to scramble to stay alive for a lot of situations, And don't get me wrong, like if you're really a successful business, you'll get creative on ways to sell product. You can't just rely on sealed, like that's unrealistic. You have to get into bulk and other things, et cetera, et cetera. But just like kind of taking a step back and looking at it from that perspective, I always got to wonder, like the Pokemon company always says they're about the player, but if the player needs a place to play and that's the local game store, why aren't they trying to find effective ways to really, how do I want to say this, prioritize that the local game store is going to be taken care of and they're not going to have to compete with a lot of these online retailers that don't have that overhead?
Yeah, and that's not to say like Pokemon doesn't give us cool stuff. They absolutely do. All of the organized play programs for a lot of these TCGs give out a lot of cool stuff and a lot of good support and promos and things to incentivize people to go up and play. I'm not saying give us free stuff, Pokemon. I'm not saying that.
Well, I'm not saying that either.
It's hard to when the system works for just anyone, there is not any incentive to open up a store. It would be and I tell people don't open a store when you can do exactly what I'm doing out of your house and with far less overhead than me. And that's with singles, with sealed product, with anything.
Right, but I mean but I mean the point I was making with that is that the Pokemon company says they care about the player more, but with the way in which the system's set up, it feels like it's geared more towards online sales, which hurts LGSs, which LGSs are there to help the player. So it seems counterproductive, is what I'm more or less saying. Because sure, you can say there's online play, but if we're being honest, Pokemon's all about creating that community in store. And so I'm just kind of curious in the sense of like, what's kind of the way in which we can solve that, you know? And I'm not saying, you know, Pokemon give us free products. Obviously not, because they're entitled to do whatever they want. I'm just saying from their own business model on what they kind of talk about in terms of trying to help out those game stores. There's I feel like an inevitable problem that's going to happen, especially too if you're talking about, you know, prices raising with, and we don't know how that's going to affect things. We don't know how wholesale is going to go to, but with inflation being a main factor and a potential recession on the loom, I just kind of look at that from the perspective of, okay, as an LGS, and you've got these online retailers that don't have that overhead, and I'm trying to be a part of the community to help build that play format for people. But at the same exact time, I've got all these overhead costs. Like, what's the Pokemon company kind of looking at, you know, face value and trying to find adjustments for that, other than trying to find an equilibrium in the market? Or, you know, maybe I'm completely off and they're like, you got to figure it out for yourself, sell singles, buy singles, create that market. Do you know what I mean by when I say that?
Yeah, of course. I just don't see a solution that they would actually try to enforce. Maybe sell products at a higher margins for game stores, but again, I don't know. Like Wizards of the Coast, you can't buy Magic products if you don't have a brick and mortar. So you can't go that route. I mean, I guess you could, but that'd be again the death knell for so many people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've looked at Magic here lately, but they aren't doing so hot with that process either. So I don't know what the solution would be. I really don't know, and I don't know how you, other than for these stores to, or these online businesses just to no longer see it worth it, because there's just so many people competing against each other that it's unless you do those other auxiliary things like your Safari zones of the world where they turn through a ton of product and they do bulk and they do all those things that obviously give them an edge over so many other businesses out there that are just buying 12 cases of Pokemon because they have a business license and flip a little bit, make some money on the side.
Yeah.
I don't know how you stop it from happening.
So obviously then from the LGS perspective, you're saying I don't see the solution. Obviously you're saying the market is how the market.
There's not a solution where that is not just cut out an entire business model.
But even as you said, obviously with Magic and the way things are going for them, they have a very different business model where you have to be a game store to sell their product, and that's not working. So I mean, that wouldn't that still, like you were just saying, it wouldn't work out regardless. So you'd have to change something outside of that. So kind of moving on from that, rather than like kind of theorizing, all right, what's best for the LGS? Let's talk about the market. Do you think that booster box reprints for Evolving Skies, Brilliant Star, all these booster boxes that have finally started to go up in value, do you think that's a healthy thing for the market, or do you think it's something that should be just kind of left alone?
No, they have to reprint those. They have to. There's no reason for Pokemon not to reprint these items. That's just free money. Why would you not reprint something that obviously the market is paying above and beyond what you think that item should be worth? I mean, Brilliant Stars being 180, it's just a silly thing. All these booster boxes should not be that expensive, and that there's not since they are going up in price, obviously there's not enough out there because there's not enough competition pushing the prices down. So they have to just blow all these things out and just crank it out and just print it until it's into the ground. Those items will go up in value eventually, but it should be, years down the road as opposed to 3 months after a set releases, like Silver Tempest here. Like, I think it's, if people don't think they're not going to reprint this stuff, I think it's foolish. It's a bad idea. It's just a silly move to think that they're not going to make money. It wouldn't make any sense for them not to reprint all these sets, all of it. Anything that's over $140 is going to be reprinted. It has to. That's just, they have to.
Is there anything specifically, and this is kind of a broad question, but I figured I would ask it, it's more of a fun question to kind of just get your thoughts. Do you think there's anything going on in the market that you feel as if people are not having a conversation about, whether it be negative or positive?
Ooh. Man. I think it's very easy to get stuck in the numbers of things. And I think, obviously, there's people out here saying this and enjoying Pokemon for what it is. But, damn, these sets are awesome right now. These sets are just, Modern is amazing. Like, from a actual standpoint of what they're producing, what they're making, this stuff's awesome. Like, compared to even just a couple years ago, we are far beyond just as far as art, the freedom that they're giving the artists, the type of perspectives and that they're giving. I mean, people talk about the E-series and how awesome the art is on that. This new stuff, it's above and beyond all that. Like, Pokemon has never been as good as it is now, from a actual standpoint, and even meta-wise, the game is super awesome right now. I think it's super fun. It's super refreshing. There's a regional every 2 weeks, and a new deck wins every freaking regional. Like that is super healthy and super cool, and it's super engaging to people that want to try to go out there and play and crack the format and do stuff like that. That's the type of stuff that Pokemon does not get enough credit for. Is that they're absolutely killing it on play-wise. Lost Origins is probably one of the greatest sets they've ever made here recently. As far as playability, the amount of playable cards in Lost Origins, and it's a brand new set. We have 2 more years of playing that, and all these things, and all these ways that they're gonna make stuff here in the next year that plays with maybe some Lost Box stuff and make those decks better and brings that stuff back in the meta and keep churning it around. They do a great job at printing a card, and you're going, man, if this just had one thing, this would be busted. And they'll print something 3 sets later and be like, aw, damn, that's why you need to keep making these sets, because a card is going to pop off, and then we're not going to have any more booster boxes or booster packs for the stuff that people are going to want, because these cards are going to spike when they do that stuff. And it's awesome. I love that they do that. It's very cool. But they're so good about that, and they don't get enough credit. The organized play team and the playtesting team in general. For a highly collectible game, the game is actually really fun and engaging and healthy right now, where it should be so trash, for they're just pumping out what the people want, right? Collectors want. No, the meta right now is awesome, and it's super fun. So that's what people don't talk about, and that is a part of the game that I enjoy a lot, as opposed to just twiddle my. I now have a mustache to twirl and make money. That's not the organized play and the meta of the game itself. It's super fun.
I love that answer because I do agree with you. I feel as if there's always a conversation about, like, specifically with the Pokemon artwork from a collector perspective. There was always like, oh, this set's going to be great because of this reason. This set's going to be crap for this reason. There's always so much hyperbole when it comes to the just sets that are being released. It's like so much emotion behind it in the market, right? And especially when you look at the artworks. And although I believe obviously the artworks are getting better and better in the direction the Pokemon company is going is great, because one of the biggest things that I discussed, right? And obviously we haven't gotten full confirmation of what's going to be in the set for Crown Zenith, but one of my biggest things that I obviously discussed is I said, I believe that the direction that we need to kind of stray away from is it's the worst feeling as a collector that you're opening up a pack and you kind of see a glimmer or a shimmer at the side of the back of the pack. You're like, oh, I got something. It's a silver border. It must be an alt art. And then it's a full art Electrode. And you're like, wow, that's a huge bummer. If you look at the most recent set, Crown Zenith, and what's been revealed with V-Star Universe, it's like we haven't seen any rainbows or full arts revealed in that set. And if that's something that is, maybe it's just because it's a specialty set. Maybe it's something they're going to bring into, Scarlet and Violet base set, which Scarlet and Violet base set, they've revealed they're going to be character rares in that. So that's exciting. So if that is the direction they're going, I think, one, that's exciting to see, because I think progressively the Pokemon company has gotten really good with artworks and things just keep getting better. And then two, like you were saying, from the competitive perspective, that is definitely something I feel like from a business perspective, everyone, and, kind of, looping it all in together. When it comes to the business side of things, you can't just sit here and be like, yeah, I'm going to buy a booster box at wholesale and then I'm going to flip it because booster boxes at wholesale are only $50. Like, no, they're not. Like, they're yeah, right.
So, like, you probably get those comments too. Where it's like,
all the time,
you're making tons of money. What
all
do you
the
mean?
time.
How can this be a bad thing? What's the wrong with how things are going? It's like, my guy.
Yeah.
I'm buying boxes for $86. And they're on TCGPlayer for $90. What about that do you think is okay? What about that is healthy to you?
And then you sell it in your LGS for $110. And they're like, you scalpers, and you're like, I have overhead, man. I got overhead. But anyway, because you can go on a rant for that. But more or less, the point that I'm making is that with the market being competitively healthy, where there's this continuity of continuous cards being introduced, and of course the value of those cards shifting constantly, I think it's awesome, because not only does it bring life to the game itself, but it also brings value to the bulk side of things for people to be able to make profit off of the game side of things, because it's not just value purely being found, if there is any, off of just flipping sealed. It's, no, I'm invested in the game. Oh, yeah, you want to say something?
I think it is absolutely insane that we can see where a record amount of cards have sold. And just billions of these cards floating around, that we can still have commons and uncommons worth several dollars and stuff that is playable stuff and all these that everybody has, right? But millions, like probably millions of a single card potentially out there of a common, possibly. And there's some of them out there that are $1, $2, $3. Scoop up nets. Scoop up nets have been above $2 for like ever. They've been as expensive as $4. Like that to me, when there's a record amount of cards being printed and insane, like what does that tell you?
Well, and
what does that tell you, like for the playability side of and how impactful that card is and how important that card is?
And you know what's crazy about that too is this is happening now. Scoop up nets are finally starting to lose value. Like for the longest time they were sitting at like $3-4, and they're finally starting to lose value because they're getting ready to go out of rotation. But what's crazy about it is these were put in trainer toolkits for the 2021. So they were, it's not like, Sword and Shield was mass printed, because base set Sword and Shield, it wasn't really that big where we got massive reprints. Same with Rebel Clash. It was something that It's in Trainer Toolkit 2021, and if you want to go buy a Trainer Toolkit for 2021, which for the longest time was sitting at wholesale, I don't know what they're at right now, you can break those down. And now, granted, with the 2022 Trainer Toolkits coming out, a lot of the repeat cards from 2021 were broken down. But for the while now, when you had 2021 where it was all these untouched cards, Capture Energies, you had the scoop up nets, you had the what are some other ones? I mean, the incense cards, like Evolution Incense.
Evolution Incense has been a huge card.
So many cards in that item that were mass printed, and yet no value was touched from it until it's about to go out of rotation. Now you're starting to see that adjustment in price, which is crazy, and I think that's awesome. And I think that from a market perspective, like going back to it, there's value to be had in that, because you can still find profit off of those singles and flipping them.
If I can just show my own channel.
Yeah.
On your channel. I just did a video about how price spikes happen and how like secret rares of cards that were maybe not playable in the current format, but will be super playable in the next format, like price spikes. Or like when a new card gets announced out of Scarlet and Violet, like the Nest Ball, and how the secret for Nest Ball from whenever the last secret I had, I think it was like Sun and Moon era, ways back, right? It was like $2, $3, and then all of a sudden, like in the matter of a couple days, skyrocketed to like $25, $30. You could have 10x your money if you just bought a bunch of Nest Balls and going. I mean, they'll probably reprint this eventually, right? Just dump, $3 a card into something that potentially could skyrocket. I just did a video about all that, and it's actually my lowest viewed video in a very long time. So I'm like, this is how you make money, but people don't want to hear it. It's too much about sealed product and stonking that.
Oh, is that the one where you were talking about how like you I watched the following video after that where you were talking about how you're upset that your previous one didn't do so well, and you felt like it was one of the best ones you'd ever done. I think it is. I have yet to watch that one, so I'll have to go back and watch it. I watched the follow-up video.
Oh my god. Come on.
Hey, I don't watch every video you post, okay? I've watched like half of your videos on your channel, but I'm not like, oh my god, he drops a new post. Let me go watch it immediately.
You're being honest, and I appreciate that.
Hey, I mean, like I said before, man, like I'm a fan, but I'm not here to kiss your butt and be like, Cardinal. Fair. So, but yeah, no, I'll definitely have to go back and watch it because I literally did a video where it was like, oh god, I barely broke 1,000 views on it, and that's one of my worser videos. Like typically a video, if it's middle of the road for me, because I got 5k subs, it does about like 2k to 2.5k, middle of the road. If it does 3.5 to 4k plus, that's a good video. And so if it does around that 1k, it's like that's a pretty bad video. And it's always the ones where I'm talking about like opportunities in the market that people are sleeping on, that people need to take advantage of because it's free money and no one cares. It's always the Evolving Skies, the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection, reprints happen. Like it's always the same thing. And I think that it really just comes down to a lot of people just kind of want it in their face, and they don't really want to take the time to like break down things in terms of like the relative insides. Like everyone always wants to talk about how they want to know the inside information of it all, but at the same exact time, people don't really take the time to do the research for that. They just look at what the general trend is. And I feel like that's the biggest problem you have, is that if you look at just general like traditional markets as a whole, like whether it be crypto, Pokemon, commodities, like if you want to make money, you go against what the trend is. Like you go, obviously you can say the trend is your friend till the end of the trend, but it's like you go against what the masses are doing. Like be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful, as Warren Buffett says. So it's like you have to be able to find these opportunities and not just go on the wagon and hope that this is the only opportunity, and you have to be able to make something that no one else is looking at prevalent for yourself.
When we were in the pandemic, and it was that summer and going into that fall, back when Sun and Moon, like you could still find it, like it was still a thing, like Cosmic Eclipse, Team Up, all those sets were still available, right?
I still had XY on distro.
Yeah. I mean, I had evolutions on my shelf.
Yeah.
But
$90.
God, please. Are you kidding me? Please take it.
Yeah, you remember those days?
I was looking at card prices because we were, dumping our glass cases because who knew what was going to happen, right? Like we didn't know. We were just trying to make money to survive and pay rent at that point, right? So I was looking at all the rainbows from all these Sun and Moon sets, like the Lost Thunders, the middle gen, the middle of the print block of all these, and magically all these cards started going up to $5, $10, $15, and then it would flat at 15. Boop. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Just random rainbow card. Weird. Then you go to the next one in the same set. It'd go up, boop, boop, like in blocks. So you it's getting bought out. So if you don't think the troll and toads of the world aren't out there when the market is being irrational and things are too cheap, and you don't think that they are out there just dumping money into things and stacking these singles for when it pops off and people decide they want these cards again, they were absolutely doing that time. And somebody out there with a lot of money was doing that, like systematically going through these sets and buying them out until they were $10 and just flatlining. So that's how the big boys play this game. They don't flip booster boxes for $5 a piece. They go and quintuple their money on these $2, $3 cards for when they spike to being dummy expensive. That's where their actual money comes from. So just for reference, for people that are thinking that it's too much work or it's not, that's how big boys do it. That's what they do.
Well, I also think too, like translating that to like a sealed product perspective, right? I feel like you can only almost look at that exact same model in the perspective of a 3 to 5 year game. Like you say, like hypothetically speaking, right? If we go look at, it's 2023, 2018, what are some sets that came out during that time? All right, so let's see. We've got, GX came out, they came out in 2019, obviously, but there was a GX at the end of 2018. I can't remember specifically, right? But let's just say like let's say the back end sets like of the non-tag team, right? You've got Lost Thunder, you've got Celestial Storm. If you go look at that product right now, and don't get me wrong, obviously COVID played a huge factor, but if you were to just say you progressively held that product up until this point, you would have made an absolute killing. If you just played the game, which for most people, especially if you're a business like yourself that has overhead, it's not realistic. But once again, if you're someone that, lives at your house and you're just progressively holding product and then just selling it over time, this is a model where if you say to yourself, I'm going to start this model where I hold this product and I progressively buy it every 3 to 5 years. And then every new set release, I sell the oldest product that was 3 to 5 years old. You can continuously just use that money to then buy new products, sit on for 3 to 5 years, and then sell it, buy new products. And like you can continuously do that model, right? It's like, oh, let's say Silver Tempest comes out, right? All right, well, I'm going to buy Silver Tempest with the profits I made from the set that came out 3 to 5 years ago, sit on Silver Tempest, and then what's the next set that's going to come out? Buy that, and then sell the next set that was the oldest up from the 3 to 5 year set cycle. And you can literally just kind of make that your general model, because if it's in that kind of, 1.5, 2 year window where it's still in rotation, there's a chance it's going to get a reprint. Obviously, as you get closer to the back end of things, then it's less likely. But even then, there's times where a product like Evolutions, for example, where it sat at $90 for the longest time and it was still overflowing in product, and so
it was reprinted 3, maybe potentially even 4 years after it came out. So yeah,
it's like,
but, yeah, of course, yeah. If you do that, you wait and you just keep flipping the oldest and buying up the newest, yeah, you more than likely, well, not more than likely, you will probably definitely make money for sure.
Yeah,
some sets are going to be better than others,
right? Of course,
but yeah, it's for every evolving skies, there's going to be a pre-boom Steam siege.
Right. Which, I mean, to be fair, if you look at the history of sets, usually there only is that one Steam Siege, that one Crimson Invasion, that one Emerging Power set. There's not really one that's, close in value. Like Crimson Invasion, I think it's going for 180, $200. And it's like, I mean, sure, you got base set and you've got, Guardians Rising, but there's still, at least another 50 to $100 more, if I'm correct. And then Steam Siege, I mean, Steam Siege is it 350 now, $300, maybe 400. And you look at most of the other sets on average, I mean, they're 50 to $100 more. So even then, you're still returning value off of it, let alone it being, a quote unquote worst performer.
Sure.
So yeah, definitely something fascinating to kind of look at from that perspective. But so in terms of the point of the stream, we're at about an hour and a half in. This is usually the time. Are you down? I was thinking about we would just ask some questions from some of the people in the chat.
I'm here. Like, I'm hanging out. So
okay, awesome.
I've not even been reading the chat.
I have not either, and I feel bad because everyone's congratulating me about 5K. So I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. But yeah, usually
bad.
Usually the first half hour.
Chat, let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Usually the first half hour, it's like, all right, I'm gonna ask you questions.
Yeah, anybody have questions, or if you said a question before and we were slacking?
So here's what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna scroll through the questions, and usually I'll go in order from first posted to next posted. And if it's like a general question about what's going on, whether it has to be asking a question about you, what's going on in the market, et cetera, then that's something that I will answer. But make sure if you want to ask a question, just leave it down and I will more than likely get to it at some point. So here's the first question I see. Gary asks, if you believe Pokemon products, specifically booster boxes, are overinflated and you believe reprints are coming, what type of percentage return are you aiming for when you sell? So I guess the question is, I don't know if that's one you want to answer or you want me to answer, but they're more or less asking the question of what's the return rate that you're trying to get out of a booster box?
if you are nervous about, I thought he would meant from like their perspective, not like from our business perspective, but I would think that if you are nervous about a reprint of Evolving Skies, for example, and you're not going to hold it for 2 more years, absolutely get out of it right now. If that is your fear. Sometimes you got to be content with making whatever you made, right? Maybe you bought it at, when it was $100 when it first came out or whatever, and you've been holding it and you don't know what to do. And there's this big looming, scary thing of Evolving Skies. They will reprint Evolving Skies. I'm not like a big guarantee person, but there cannot stand a $300 booster box in standard. They won't. It's too much free money to them. So it's going to happen. But if you're worried and you're scared and you're not, like I said, if you're not going to hold it for more years, now is the time. If you want to lock in that money. Wouldn't it be better just to lock in the money as to be scared about them crashing to $100? To me, it would be. But again, that's... So unless you're going to hold on to them for years and years and years, now's the time.
So
Brilliant Stars will absolutely get reprinted.
Yeah,
it's gonna go back down below MSRP.
Oh yeah. So
there's nothing. That set was obviously gas and awesome at the time, but looking back at it now, what's other than the Charizard? What's up with it? Who cares?
So I do have one general question before I move on to the next one.
Sure,
I was thinking about to you. This is speaking of reprints. It just made me think of this. Do you remember? Because typically speaking, the Pokemon Company, once again, care about the player. They typically print in rotation. When it's out of rotation, typically you don't see that happen. With Evolutions, obviously it was a product that you saw in products still out after rotation. And even Cosmic Eclipse, right? There's supposed to be a booster box reprint. Didn't happen. They supplied the product in up until now. Arceus V figures, etc., etc. Do you know the last time there was an actual Evolutions reprint?
No, because they sat at distribution for so long, for years in stock. So who knows when that last little.
Because I remember it being 2018, if I'm correct. I could be off on that one.
They were putting packs into products,
forever.
2020.
Yeah. Well,
So it's just like, who knows when they were actually done printing that set.
Well, I mean, because you had Fates Collide, you had Breakpoint. I mean, products like that was sitting in current everyday product, but I feel like there was kind of an overflow of product that was just sitting at distro. It was funny, I watched Rudy's recent video and he was saying that I did actually take this away because I thought it was the funniest thing. He's like, you've missed the boat when booster boxes are no longer the selling point and sleeve blisters. I thought that was the funniest thing because I remember back in the day when I was like just starting out, it was like, all right, all the booster boxes for X and Y are just now getting done. Evolutions is leaving. Now all we have left are sleeve blisters of Fates Collide, Primal Clash, Ancient Origins. And I'm like, yo, that actually is so funny how much I resonated with that.
Yes. That's how you know it's bad. Yep.
So I just thought that was kind of a funny point. But all right, so next question is, so this one's more to me, but I'm going to throw this one to you, obviously. So where would you put Crown Zenith? He said in our tier list because I made a tier list video on the live stream, but just for you, based on the information we have provided, where would you put Crown Zenith in terms of, from a, playability, collectability predominantly is the main question.
Say, playability, it has all the greatest hits in it. So
yeah,
as far as playability goes, it's absolute top tier because that's the whole point of these high class sets in Japan is to reprint the playables. But
yeah,
I mean, I stand by that. I am surprised that they put so much good stuff into Crown Zenith.
Shish stuff.
It is. I was gonna say.
I know what you're gonna say. That's why I made fun of you for it.
I don't know if you're okay with me, cousin.
You can go for it. I don't care.
We're an hour and a half in. We're good.
Yeah, it's been 18 seconds already. We're chilling. They aren't gonna demonetize us.
Cool. Yeah, it's kind of like it's the best art, some of the best art of the entire Sword and Shield block, crammed into a single set, where there's 70 cards, just like it, just as good, just as awesome, that we only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these types of things in sets before that. Like, it's like the greatest hits of the greatest hits. I'm surprised it's not like crazy stonky. Hopefully there's enough of it to go around and it's not going to be wild. But I think as far as the card wise, I think it's immaculate. And I think it's probably up there with, I mean, for me, it's the greatest set of all time.
Dang.
It's just got...
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Cardinal Gaming, best set of all time. All you Hidden Fates fanboys, go... No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. Buy your cases, clear off a shelf in the basement, because it's coming.
It's going to the moon, baby. This is your retirement plan. No, I'm just kidding.
It's just going to be... It's going to be a super fun set to open. It's going to be, it's like... a Whatnot Sellers dream set. Like people are gonna want to open it forever. So like it's never not gonna be opened. It's the same thing that people say about Hidden Fates and all this stuff. It's just like it's gonna be a fun set to open all the time.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, it's crazy.
You see that, and you can get it at a reasonable price that you feel okay with opening. Like it's gonna be that set.
Well, it's crazy to me because like obviously I talk about investment videos like I make posts about them. Everyone always wants one, and I made a video not that long ago saying, hey, listen, I'm gonna make a list, and this list is not gonna have a single booster box because everyone keeps talking about how they want booster boxes, but I'm gonna discourage you guys to pick it up at these prices because most of the booster boxes for ultramodern product, obviously I'm talking ultramodern, like they're just not like, I'm not gonna say go buy a Sword and Shield base set booster box because it's out of rotation, therefore you should pick it up, like, or it's going to be out of rotation soon. Sorry, it's like, no, you would never say that. And for the in rotation sets, it's like, I feel like, yeah, I'm not gonna tell someone to go pick up a $180 billion star because it's gonna get reprinted, like you said. So it was one of those things for me where I was like, let's have a conversation about non-booster box products and talk about Crown Zenith is arguably one of the best sets in the Sword and Shield era, and it's sitting at well below MSRP. And if you looked at Shining Fates, which was super duper hyped up, like I remember seeing pre-sale prices. Now, it was during the hype of the pandemic, granted, but pre-sale prices for that thing were crazy. Plus $100, 114. Hidden Fates, obviously, when it started to kind of climb up in value, went crazy. And like, other than really like, you know, Pokemon Go, if you're looking at the last couple of specialty sets in the past like 2 years or so, it's like, I don't understand why the prices are that low for that product, because it looks like an amazing set, and I feel like so many people are really sleeping on it because they're so focused on booster boxes and booster box reprints. I don't know, what are your kind of thoughts on that?
Well, that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, where, you know, there's people out there that have sold through the entirety of their Crown Zenith product. They don't even have it in their hands yet, you know, because they flash sold it for $40 a box, $400 a ETB case, and it's gone already, you know. So that's the type of things when you have, again, these online stores just happy making whatever, doesn't matter, that we're going to see these prices. And it is funny that in the past, and you think of sets like Lost Origins did this, Brilliant Stars did this, where at first everything was at the floor, everybody was blowing stuff out. Those people ran out of product because they were sold out already, and the prices crept back up and went above MSRP, just like how Brilliant Stars was above MSRP on release weekend.
Oh, it was 177 on TCGPlayer on release weekend.
So
crazy.
That's when people that don't care about what they make get their hands on so much product that they crash the product prices before it even drops, and then they sell out, and then people are stuck left with the sellers that have been here and like, hey, but we still got some, like, yeah, it's not for dirt cheap, but I still have it and they don't, you know. That's the battle of attrition that the rest of us have to stick to when we actually care about making a living off this.
Yeah,
that's, you know, and we'll see if people look out there and it's not in stores, and, you know, we're in between waves of the ETB after this first little release wave, and there's not any left after that, or maybe it's all gone. I don't know. It's all, nobody knows. But yeah, we can see the same thing where those ETBs start to climb up and spike because they're like, oh yeah, this set's really good. Huh. Who would have thought that it's actually worth the money? That could be where we're at. So it could go two ways. There could be so much of it that it's sitting on shelves, just like the Charizard UPC, or still an awesome product, but just it's out there, or it'll be and creep up above MSRP because there's nothing left, and people are like, they have their hands on it, and they're like, oh wow, these really slap in person, man, geez, I gotta complete the set now. Same thing, like FOMO can work both ways like that. I
would love to hear your perspective on this, because I get this a lot. Okay. And you're like, oh God, what am I going to get myself into?
What's up? Yeah.
Okay, so one of the biggest things I hear a lot, and I won't give my opinion on this, but a lot of the biggest thing I hear a lot, right? You'll see a set like the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection, pre-sale $300 plus. And that's people...
Me. How's that guy?
That's me. I sold it for that much. And they'll be like, yo, best set ever, or best product, going to the moon, amazing, sure. Blah, 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 blah. If you can pick it up for $200, blah, 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 right? Price goes down to, on some sites, like 85, 90, 95, $100, right? All of a sudden, sentiment switches. Product's crap. It's printed in the ground. You should stay away from it. Everyone and their mother is holding on to it. What is your personal opinion on sets that have dropped drastically because of print price? Do you think there's ever such a thing as too much print in terms of how that affects the value over time? And do you think that is a real concern that people should be having when you do see something like that happen with the Charizard UPC?
For those premium products, they're the most susceptible to that type of word of mouth kind of sentiment out there, where people, you know, either dog it or they love it, and it goes either the way of the Celebrations UPC or the way of the Charizard UPC. Both of those were heavily impacted by people talking them up, right? By word of mouth, by people like saying whether or not there's a lot of them out there, how hyped they were for them, if the promos of them were crap. People forget the promos in the Celebrations UPC was also crap, but okay, that's fine. We won't talk about that. And nobody does. So that's just the sentiment out there. Like they printed these immaculate, beautiful gold cards. Those gold cards were horrible. Some of them looked awful. But anyways, it's for those high-end products that are tailored for people that are highly engaged in the market, right? We are the most people with the ear to the ground, knowing what's up. No dad is out there casually buying. Well, I won't say that. Charizard UPC, they might be going out there and buying. But things like the Celebrations UPC, especially for something that's not out there, no one's going to go out in the secondary market and buy that. That is a casual. Very, very few people are going to see that and be like, man, that's crazy. Especially if, like, let's say that Charizard UPCs, they were as plentiful, but on the secondary market they were crazy. Which again, in this market, in this client with online sellers, can't be. But let's just say, like, play the game with me. That is a tailor-made product for high-end collectors. Premium, right? Premium, so, quote unquote premium. The people that would buy that will see that there's a lot of product out there, and the market kind of self-corrects in that way. Now you have a product that is out there everywhere, sitting on shelves, and everybody's going, "This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. I can't make money off this. Can't make money off this. This isn't a good long-term hold. Ooh, these are death nails to a premium product, right? That's not what people want to hear. And when that is your market for those products, that's bad. That's why the Charizard UPC is in the state that it is. I don't think that there was a ton of it printed, obviously, but if that market was more willing to, maybe if it was like $80, let's say, maybe it had less packs and it was $80 instead. I think we're getting in the realm of a lot more reasonable and a lot more people who spontaneously pick it up at that price. 120 is just, it's a rough price point, super expensive. Like, mommy, buy me a $180 or $120 product is not a thing. Especially right now, where the market is. Obviously, the Celebrations UPC and the Charizard UPC came out at very different times, both in the Pokemon market, but just in the market in general, right? So, it was definitely printed in high demand, but the product itself is not a bad product. I think it gets it gets a lot more shade than it should. And I think when I talked about this on a video about the Black Friday sales that I did, prices, once they hit like a new low, people that are looking for deals are going to want to look for something at that price. So all these stores that were online and blowing these products out, when they have $60 in packs in them for $75 shipped, that sets a new bar for people in people's mind. They're like, all right, if I'm not buying this for $75, it's not a good deal. I'm wasting money. I'm throwing money away if it's above $75. And again, for people that are buying this product, the people that are engaged the most in the collecting hobby of Pokemon, it really taints a product and makes it a lot more negative that way. It's amplified of how negative it is because it's not seen as a good investment at that point. So that's the thought, and that's why the Charizard UPC is where it's at. It was a combination of sellers, for whatever reason, not breaking that product down and just making more money and selling the parts out of it. $40 in promos and $60 in packs and mats and all that extra stuff, but you're going to dump it for $70 shipped. Doesn't make sense to me. It's not a logical thing to me.
Yeah.
But not everybody has the outlet to sell things like I do. I get that. Like that is one advantage of the myriad of advantages if I was a home business versus a brick and mortar, the one thing is that I can get a premium and I don't have to ship things. So I can break things down and I don't have to pay $4 every item to ship it, right? That is the luxury that I have. But yeah, I would never sell Charizard UBCs at $60 because I can make that money back instantly with the packs right now. So I'm not going to be doing that, and I'm not fire selling my Charizard UBCs. I still have like 30 of them. They're moving. They move. They're not like flying out the door, but that's okay with me. I'm okay with that. Same thing with like if Crown Zenith gets printed into the ground. It's an awesome product. It's got cool cards in it. People love and are gonna want to open this. If I put them on my shelf for $49.99 and they drop to $25, I don't care, because that'll eventually will sell through, and then here I am. Like I said, the market right now for LGSs and brick and mortars and people that have the luxury of sitting on things, if you have the money and you're not like desperate to move things, it's a battle of attrition of how these prices move. And for the people that can sit and hold things, that is a luxury that some people don't have. So that's where we're at with all these premium products. And like I said, if Crown Zenith comes out tomorrow or next week and it goes into the ground, I'm going to still have it on my shelf for $50. So when everybody gets and sells out and there's no more of that product out there, here I am with mine. See you then.
So obviously your channel is not typically geared towards investors, but with the idea itself surrounding product being printed in the ground like Charizard UPC, take just CUPC out of it, right? Just purely as a whole, when the Pokemon company does print a product into the ground, do you think people should really be scared of the long-term implications of that product?
If they're going to hold it long-term, who cares? Long and the short is that booster boxes, whatever it is, whatever the item is, it doesn't matter. For a TCG collectible, over time, more and more this is just going to be opened. And there's no going backwards. You can't, unless they reprint, of course. You can't go back and put those things back in the container. Out of, again, attrition alone, you're going to be winning. Give it however much time you need to. If you're not in a hurry to sell something, it has to go up in price because there's simply less supply of it. So if people are like, if I was somebody that like sat on sealed product and I saw Charizard UPCs for $60, $70, hell yeah, I'm buying those. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? All day, I would do that.
Do you
it
think?
Just makes sense. That's a good deal. That's a win for the speculators, collectors, whatever you want to call it.
Do you think people should be concerned over the quote-unquote belief that there's potentially more holders now, and that's going to change the game? One of the biggest things is I feel like a lot of people talk about casuals holding on to product more often nowadays.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's got to be more holders, right? But there's also a lot more collectors, a lot more people opening. Like, even so now, there's so many more people that just want to go out there and just open something. I mean, I have people walking to my door every day that, well, not every day. I have people come in all the time that say, yeah, I've seen Pokemon around. I've always thought about collecting it and picking up some cards and opening it for the first time. First time people walking to my door. Or, kids coming in and opening stuff. It'll always be there. There's always going to be a market for whatever it is. And the fact that it's a dirt product right now doesn't mean anything for later. And you can use as many examples as you need to back that up. Steam Siege, just whatever. What else is a trash product that is probably going to go up and do?
Merging Powers, Steam Siege, Crimson
Juniper
Invasion.
Tournament boxes, the milk cartons.
Oh, yeah, those are in the crapper still.
And will they always be, though? No. Somebody out there will, they'll all move through enough and be able to be a decent product long term. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter.
And it's funny because I share the exact same sentiment as you, but I feel as if And I don't, obviously this, I don't want to paint a broad brush as to offend anyone, but I feel as if since the, right, I always want to be careful with my words. I try to be open about the community and make sure everyone feels welcome. But one of the things I've noticed is there is, within COVID, a large amount, whether you want to call it a resurgence of WotC people or a bunch of new people that have come to the market. I feel as if there's a lot of people that come into this market and talk about things in the perspective of, oh, this product is worthless because it's valued at X. Everyone and their mother is going to be holding it because it's at its current price, therefore it will not do well in the future. But if you've been in the hobby for 0.5 seconds, you would know that Evolutions was sitting for 90, $100 for the longest time after it got printed brutally in the ground. I mean, you saw 300 plus, 250 plus prices on Roaring Skies booster boxes before it got printed into the ground because the Shaman EX was super competitive at the time and Pokemon wasn't producing product that had, promos and battle decks like they are now that's able to address that. And so it's like the product now, I mean, Evolutions hit $1,000. Roaring Skies, I think, is like $500-$600. So it's like you look and say, like you look and see a lot of people that make these statements, and I feel like a lot of them are people that are just into the hobby that are very new and haven't really followed the history of what's kind of been happening in situations like what happened in the XY era. And so I just always find it fascinating to see because it's like I just never understood it. If you're looking at product from a deflationary perspective, like you said, because of attrition, you should know that regardless of if the product is at $60 a booster box or so, that product itself over time, even if the demand's extremely low, it's going to become more scarce as less of it becomes readily available and more people filter into the market, and they're going to be more interested in some of that older product, and prices are naturally going to rise because of that. It's just basic supply and demand theory. So I always find it interesting when I just hear that perspective. So I'm like, I don't know. I just never understood it.
And there's always new people coming into the market all the time.
Yeah.
People that don't know that something even exists. There are plenty of people that can walk into my store and not know Evolutions is a thing.
Yeah.
And they'll go up to my glass case and they'll see the Charizard and be like, what? That's not the old one. What? Where did that come out of?
Yeah.
And I tell them about Evolutions and that it's a thing and that you can buy packs for it and it's, expensive now, but, who knows? Like, I didn't know I could open. They're going to be cheaper than a regular booster pack or regular base set pack.
No.
I'm going to buy some Evolutions. And then that's how the stuff keeps going.
Yeah.
There's always new people. There's always people. There's always people busting things, selling things on whatnot, or just all this stuff. Just it's all got demand. It's just to what extent. Some products are going to be better than others, of course, but there's always going to be people out there that coming into this hobby that know nothing, and they're going to learn, and they're going to be interested, and they're going to stick around, and they're going to want to go back and open and experience new stuff for them, new to them. Old stuff to us, but it's new to them.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of a great point because, like, for myself, I got into the market, like into the hobby. I started collecting. This is going to show my age, but it was the EX era. I wasn't really like.
Oh, the first one.
Yeah, I was not into WotC.
The big EX or the small EX?
The small EX, the small. Or sorry, wait, sorry. Hold on, let me rephrase that. My first ever set I ever opened was Dragon Frontiers and Power Keepers.
Okay.
Those were the first packs, just so that we understand the EX. Sure. I don't know if you call that the big or small. I guess I would call it small because of the size. But yeah, that was the first set that I ever opened. But the first real era that I was a part of was the Diamond and Pearl era back in 2007, 2008. And so for me, it's like one of those things where growing up, when I really got passionate about the hobby again, because I kind of filtered out of the beginning of XY. I thought XY, the game, kind of sucked. And then I came back for when they did Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. Might sound like a hot take, but I actually really enjoyed the games, and it really got me into it because I thought Ancient Origins was a great set. But I really did it.
It was a great set. I love Mega.
I love it. I loved it. I thought it was sick. But yeah, and so it was one of those things for myself, right? That when like I really started collecting again, like intensely, because you know it was one of those things for me where it was like I was still following it because I was always getting every new game, and I would still open a tin or two, but I wasn't like following it as intensely as I was back in the day when I used to compete in tournaments and such for regionals when I was in middle school up until like my freshman year of high school. And I was looking back on a lot of the product pricing, and I was like, man, I loved Level X Pokemon cards when I was a kid. I can go pick these up off a TCGPlayer for like $3-4 a pop. This is pretty cool. I can go back and do this. Do I really care that some investor is telling me that I should go pick up WotC PSA slabs because they're dirt cheap right now? I mean, sure, that'd be cool, but I don't really resonate with that because Diamond and Pearl was what I loved. And so for me, it was one of those things where like I gravitate towards that and the same concept of packs. And it's like, even if I'm like, oh, I'm going to go back and open some older vintage packs, I resonate opening the older vintage packs in the Diamond and Pearl era because in my mind, I'm like, yo, I can go pick up a base set Diamond and Pearl pack for like $85-90. That feels like a deal versus some people are going unlimited and picking up for, you know, $400, $500, $600, you know, depending upon if it's weighted, unweighted, etc. And I'm just like, yo, why would you ever want to do that? But for me, it's because I look at it from the nostalgic perspective of what I grew up in. And so that plays such a huge factor, I feel like, into the resurgence of a lot of people coming back into the market when going back and collecting older things. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I thought that was quite interesting. But so we literally asked 2 questions and then I went off on a tangent and asked my own thing. I apologize. So I will continue back on track to answer some more questions. Here's an interesting one. I actually like this.
Okay.
Have you done the math on the investment of the Roka machine? Like, how long does it take for it to pay itself off? I know the machines are like $20,000. So I guess for those people,
God, are they that much now?
I actually
I bought mine 4 years ago. So
yeah. So we recently got one at the shop, and it was $5,000 as a down deposit, $500 to ship, and then it's $1,200 monthly payments. You can do a 6 or a 1 year. And then after that, if you want to, this is a lease agreement. After, if you want to, you can buy it out for the remaining amount. I think it's like $22,000 or something like that. It's in the low 20s for sure. But I guess from the perspective of someone who's been doing it at such a mass scale, do you think that for someone that's wanting to scale their TCGPlayer business, direct business, whatever, when do you think that it should come a point where it seems like a worthwhile investment for them to do something like that?
I think that there is a lot of people. I know TCG Polkings was in here. I know he doesn't have robot, but he does tons with bulk, right? He's just he himself is a machine. But and there's tons of people that can go out there and just do it manually, and you don't need a robot. The only part, or the only real helpful, when you get to the point where you need this, is that when you have the amount of bulk that I have. Or, you know, an insane amount of bulk that is just sitting there, otherwise not being touched. And that's the thing that the Roka is awesome, because you throw it in there, it does all the work. You take it out, it's done. You put another thing in there, you walk away. And it is basically an employee. I think when we bought ours, we were doing, okay, if I had to pay somebody to sort bulk, or I have this robot to do it, I think it worked out to being somewhere in like the, you know, and we were doing just in our hours of operation and, you know, all that, just kind of factoring. It ended up being like somewhere in the range of like $7 an hour to labor. Like, well, even if you're just sorting bulk, I can't get anybody for $7 an hour. So if I maximize and use it the most I can, and, you know, get the most money I can out of it, it makes it worth it. Obviously, there's downtimes and, you know, rough spots and breakdowns and things don't work or whatever. But even more so than that, it's just that the fact that you can kind of just set it, forget it kind of deal, and I don't have to train anybody. I don't have to watch over somebody to make sure that they're doing everything. It does as much work as I want it to, right? Like I'm in control of how much work it does. It doesn't need lunches. It doesn't need sick days, vacation days, all that stuff. I dictate how much that machine runs, and that is the freedom that it gives a store. Is that it is a reliable machine, well, mostly reliable. I've had some issues with ours, but it's 4 years old. It's going to have problems. For the most part, it's been pretty good. I don't know what you've had with yours, if you had any issues with yours, but mine's been great.
First week we got it. It was not correctly uploading the CSV file, and so we had to wait a month before we could use it. That was fun. That was a fun experience.
Nice.
One other question I have for you. I can't remember correctly, but once you have paid the Roka fully off, isn't there like a general maintenance fee as well that they charge you?
Yes, and you want to do it. You want to be part of that because you'll get updates. You got to pay for the updates and all that, and then you have to just whenever there's issues. Like we had the pump go out, they sent us a new one.
No.
No questions asked. Like just do it. It's the peace of mind for it is just there's like I think it's like $1,000 a year now. It might be more even now. I don't know, but
it's $1,000 a year.
Pretty sure it's $1,000 a year, or there's maybe it's per hour it run. I honestly I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it.
Okay, because I didn't
Whatever
know
it is, we just send the check. We don't care.
Because I didn't know if it was like $500 a month or some like they were still paying.
No, it's like it's a yearly thing. I think it's based off of how many hours it runs. So it's like it might be $1,000 for every 1,000 hours or something.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. But
no, that makes sense. That's so funny.
Whatever it is, it's once you have the machine, you're good. You want to keep paying it. Like I said, they send you air filters. They send you grease. I've probably replaced close to everything other than the shell of the machine. Every part has been replaced.
Dang.
The arm, the camera, the pistons several times, the compressor itself, all the air hoses, like everything on the machine has more or less been taken apart and put back together for free. Well, for the maintenance. So it's worth it for sure.
Brandon Baker says Mason is a dictator, confirmed.
Look, you just have to look at things objectively.
He doesn't get lunch breaks. It works.
It just does it. Doesn't complain. Doesn't yell at me about pricing. None of it.
Oh, that's so funny.
So you auto upload your CSVs. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I would say for the most part, that's what
you're brave.
That's what our store has done. Well, we've run into some operational issues recently that have nothing to do with the Roka. It has to do with employees, and so we've had to deal with that most recently. So we're actually in the process of addressing that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the CSV file auto upload, one of the biggest things that we learned is that there are certain sets, specifically in Magic, but one in particular for Pokemon, Hidden Fates, that basically we filter out completely. And you have to almost do a manual sort for it because it reads it wrong. And if you guys are curious as to what I mean by that, Hidden Fates is a set where the majority of the artworks were just reprinted artworks throughout the Sun and Moon era, and they just have a shiny version of it. And at the very bottom left of the corner of the card, it shows the original set symbol itself plus the shiny vault symbol. And sometimes the Roka will actually read it as the original set and not show it as the shiny value. And so you could have, let's say, a shiny Charizard, for example, from Hidden Fates. And since the original Charizard artwork came from Burning Shadows, it will read the card sometimes as Burning Shadows. And so that's one of the things where we've progressively learned to do a filter out before we do an automatic CSV upload, so we know which sets are worth just, hey, we can just automatically upload it, and then the other ones will have to do a manual CSV kind of monitor and check. But like I said, we've got some other logistical things we're figuring out.
Well, Magic in itself is also one that has the list cards that have absolutely everything identical except the bottom left corner has a little symbol in it.
Yeah.
It struggles with those for it did for a long time. I think we still don't run them, just in case, because we don't want to worry about it. You know?
Exactly, and that's kind of where we are with it right now.
So that's why we don't auto upload either.
Yeah, because we originally auto uploaded, and we found out real quick why auto upload might not be the best. So we have transitioned into making adjustments, and we're gonna start auto uploading again, but with new strictures on how we're going to do it.
Once you know, you can get better. It gets faster.
Yeah, exactly. It's a process.
Absolutely.
So I was asked this question I made a video not too long ago about, from my experiences, how much it cost to start an LGS. Someone wanted me to reiterate that, Taylor Adams, on the potential cost of how much you would need to start a card shop. In my video, I basically said that for our general budget, it cost us about $80,000 to $100,000 for ours to get started. I've heard some people be successful starting theirs at around $40,000-$50,000, very budget-ish. It depends obviously where you're located, so there's so many different factors. But what would you say for the individual that wants to start their own card shop? What is kind of the expectation they should really set for themselves financially to start?
So many ways to answer this.
So many ways.
So a lot of people just want to go out to the bank, get a loan, and start a business. Starting in since the housing crisis, that's not a thing anymore. I have immaculate credit, and I could not get approved for even a small business loan of my already established business.
All right.
Because of the situation that loans were in. Unless you already have money, you can't. Because the amount of product and inventory and things, fixtures, all those things you need off the rip just to start and open the doors is tens of thousands of dollars. And if you think it's going to be a certain price, double it. And that's being probably conservative. Chat, put a number in the chat. How many thousands of dollars do you think a store sign with channel letters, the individual letters are, to put on a building? I would love to know. A decently sized one. I would love to know what you guys think a sign out front of a store costs. And I will tell you how much I just paid for mine at my new store.
Yikes.
So I'll let you guys answer, and I'll continue. And yeah, I just opened a store, and at probably the worst time to open a store, everything was super expensive. I waited 8 months for stand-up like trophy displays, wall displays, like insane, like wait times for anything. And
trolling.
And things like gondola shelving. Either you go on a wait list for a year, or you pay 3 times the going rate for it. So, it adds up. It just all adds up continually. It adds up. Things that you don't even think about now. Flooring, networking. If you want like a server to run, if you have any sort of like networking computers, crazy, like super dummy expensive, like wild, crazy.
Well, it's kind of like
expenses that you don't think about.
It's kind of like general investing. One of the biggest things that I learned from my macroeconomics teacher is everyone always has this like grand theory of like they're going to make so much money by having a rental property and expects a large yield, when in reality it's only on average about a 3.5% return versus stocks are 7%. And I was like, 3.5%, that sounds so little, like why? And he's like, well, if you think about the fact of the matter that you have to have constant renovation, if something breaks, you're the one that's going to have to come in and do repairs for it. If you think about just general costs, and like there's so many different factors that people don't calculate into it when they think about going and buying a house as a form of investment. And I feel like that's another thing a lot of people don't really consider when it comes to general maintenance and upkeep for business, like you're saying with the LGS. What are you reading right now so far? Has someone gotten remotely close, or is it kind of all over the place?
I mean, there's some troll answers
Of
and there's some
course.
real answers. Um, I paid for my new sign. I paid $8,100. 8,100. So $8,000 I just paid for a sign. To have a sign that is to their regulations. You don't get to just put whatever you want. You have to make it how they want you to put it on the building if you are in any sort of cam situation where you are leasing. So yeah, $8,000 is
Wow.
like the price for a beautiful sign. It's a beautiful sign. I love it. It's awesome. But that is what the signage that they required us to have.
Dang.
So just think about that kind of stuff. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
In opening a business, and especially, again, you can scale your way and do it. It's just like that's how we did it. You know, you have to do it that way because if you don't have, how much would you have to have just like actually get in a building? Probably, if the lease doesn't require like a financial check, which most in good areas do. You know, it's 100,000 would be like to get in the door. Probably another 100,000 for if you want a decent sized product, depending on what you're doing. I don't, you know, and the size of the store and all those things. Like, it's a lot. People don't realize.
Yeah.
Just the expenses. Insurance is a scam, but also a necessary thing that you need. And you know, how much are you gonna insure yourself? You're gonna insure all your items. You're gonna you gotta have insurance for if somebody gets hurt in your store. How about that? You gotta have a you know, $500,000 policy for that. You gotta have a $500,000 policy on all your fixtures and supplies and things for fire and theft and all these things. Terrorist acts, that's also a thing. People don't know you can buy terrorist acts insurance, but all that is dumb.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So much. So
I love it.
If you got a basement, if you got a house, if you want to have like some place for people like to actually meet up and like buy and do, you know, trading, or not trading, but purchases from, get a little office space. That is so much better the route than opening up an LGS. It's not worth it. It's rarely worth it ever, but right now in particular, I don't think it's worth it at all. And you can do just as good, if not better than me.
Yeah.
with just doing it online.
All right, I'm gonna go through and look at a couple more questions. I see a lot of.
You said you just opened a store? It's an established store.
Yeah, so just to kind of give you the history of my channel as a whole. So like I said, I got into Pokemon long time ago, so I've been in the hobby for a while, but I didn't really start to get, how do I want to say this, into the investment side of things until the market crashed back in when the pandemic happened. And so I lost my job, school was whatever at that point. I was going to school for economics and finance. And I was like, okay, well, what now? And I was just trying to find a way to make money. And I remember that a buddy of mine was talking about this amazing new set that just came out, Hidden Fates, and that he was a huge fan of it. And I was like, yeah, I'll look into it. And he was telling me all about the set. And then I remember going in store and I looked at Cosmic Eclipse and I was like, this is one of the best sets of all time for me personally. Being a Gen 4 and Gen 5 fan, I was like, oh my gosh, these artworks are amazing. That statue of the Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia in stone was like mind-blowingly sick to me. And so like I immediately fell back in love. And so I just started buying a bunch of old collections again, and I like got every level X card I could, and then once you got every level X card you start buying multiples. And it was one of those things where I was like, okay, well, prices have all of a sudden started to go up. I was like, what if I made a business out of this? Because Pokemon product actually is doing good and the stock market's still in the tank. I was like, well, what if I kind of made a business out of it? And basically I was looking into eBay and was like, yo, eBay fees suck. I was like, this is the worst. I was like, I'll just make my own website, because my parents, they have for the past 20 plus years, they've owned, or not 20, like, 18. They've owned their own brand marketing and sales agency. And my dad used to be the VP of client sales at a large marketing firm. And so like the running joke in my family is I grew up having my diapers changed in the boardroom. And so it's like one of those things where like business was a background that I had, and I had always been fascinated about investing. And so when I looked at Pokemon and I was able to translate a lot of my passion for Pokemon and love for Pokemon, because I had been an avid follower of Pokemon since I was a little kid, and that never really went away. And then I was able to translate my, real world experience, my business experience, into creating a business, and the best of both worlds were able to collide together. I was like, this is the dream. And I was like, I'm gonna send it. And so I created my own website. And I started doing a lot of like marketing for myself through social media platforms. And I was blessed to have some connections I made along the way to help me naturally grow. I built my website by myself. The only thing that I didn't do, I did all my own marketing. I did all my own building a website. The only thing I didn't do is someone create a logo design for me. But everything else I did myself. And then it was one of those things where I just was able to offer good prices on Pokemon product after I got distributors. And even then, I got lucky, bro. I am not even kidding you. I've told this story before. I'll say it again. I remember I called my first distributor, and my sales rep at the time, he became my sales rep, was like, you've got zero business experience in terms of actually owning a business, and you've got no sales history. Why should we accept you? Like, this just seems like an easy auto reject. And I literally told the guy, I said, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to give you the most inspirational speech you're ever going to hear, and as to why you should accept me. And he accepted me after that. I was like, dang, that's a damn good speech. He's like, all right, I'll make an exception. Don't F this up for me. And I will never forget him to this day. Shout out to my sales rep, Marty. He doesn't work at the distribution anymore, but I will never forget that because of him, because I would have never been here if that never happened. And so it was something where I got a distributor, and then I started to kind of blow up. Like, things just started to take off. My marketing was working. My base of individuals that started following me started taking off. And I just, started to do really, really well for myself financially as a business. And then in terms of the local game store, what ended up happening was, I remember I had $70,000 worth of backstock inventory that I just accumulated as a form of investment, more or less, for myself. And I was planning on moving to Arizona. And in the process of that, I was trying to sell my product, because I'm not going to ship $70,000 in the back of a moving truck and try and find space for that. It's not affordable. Yeah. And so I just was trying to sell the product, and I had one big guy be like, hey, I can come and take a lot of that product off your hand if you're willing to sell it for me. And I was like, really? And I sat down and had a conversation with him, and he was just saying how basically his daughter is a huge fan of Pokemon, and he was doing some research on the investment side of Pokemon, and he literally didn't know anything about me, but he had started watching my YouTube videos after he saw my post on Facebook Marketplace, and was doing a bunch of research and stuff, and was talking about how he got extremely intrigued off of first his daughter, and then listening to me talk on the investment side of Pokemon. And he actually has his own successful business that he ran in the same town that I lived in at the time, and was wanting to pivot because he believed that the industry itself he was in, vaping, was going to just be overregulated, and it wasn't going to be a good transition. So he said, I think I want to go into a more family friendly transition, and I think Pokemon and Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and all these other card games is the transition I'm looking for. And so he, after he bought my product, asked me to go out to lunch with him, told me all those things, and said, do you want to start a LGS with me? And basically the rest is kind of history. We started the LGS in October, and our first month we did about 30,000 in sales, purely storefront. And then this last month we did 50,000 in sales, and we have so far done $5,000 in the first 10 days of the store being open after it was closed for the holidays. And this is purely storefront. This isn't even online sales because, like I told you before, we've been dealing with our own issues on the Roka. And so we are extremely blessed. Things have been going really well for us. And I'm honestly super excited to see the direction in which the store is going. And so it's been an awesome journey. I'm really blessed along the way. I can't thank, I want to just say this now for those of you guys that have been following me for the longest time. I can't thank you guys enough to be able to get this point where I do have 5,000 subs and able to have awesome guests on like Mason. Like, this is truly a dream come true. I really wouldn't be able to be here without you guys. And so I'm very humbled to be where I am at this point in my life, and to see the success that I've truly been able to have because of everyone.
Dude, good for you. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So, sorry, I got really emotional there for a second. I got like, I don't know, man. Just...
We're good. Like, what is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think it's, like you said, it's something that a lot of people dream about, right? Like, everybody wants to be like, man, I'd love to own a game store. I think it'd be so cool.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of people get in it. And I knew a guy, there's like Facebook groups of, all these game stores stuff. Dude lasted 2 months before he was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
This sucks. And it's like, dude, you just signed a 5-year lease and you just committed financial suicide. Like, what? He's like, yeah, I want out. I was like, oh, well, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's people don't understand. Like I didn't take a salary for my first 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like that's you are investing in the long term.
Right. And that was
that is a thing.
And that was one of the biggest things that I talked about with, because we've got 3 main partners, me and then 2 other investors, one of which who was the guy who approached me. And we just had a conversation about what the kind of roadmap was for the plan of the store. And it was very much, we were not expecting, first and foremost, we were not expecting to blow up as quickly as we did. So we're way ahead of schedule in terms of taking profit. But our expectation was, we're not going to take profit for at least the first 6+ months. So just everyone be ready for that. This is going to be a slow process. And so that's one of the things I feel like a lot of people should have the expectation for. It's very much continuously reinvesting in the business till you get to a stability point where it's worth it for you to really take profit. Because if you're continuously just strangleholding your progression by just taking enough money to be able to pay for your own personal things, that it's not allowing the growth of that business, then you're never going to be able to scale. And the big, most important thing I always tell people when it comes to starting your own business, doesn't have to be Pokemon, is understand you have to have 2 things. You have to have, and this one is more flexible, but in my personal opinion, I do believe you should have it, a passion for what you're doing and an understanding of the business side of things. I feel like more often than not, I see 1 rather than 2, and that's where a lot of businesses fail. I'll see someone that's super passionate about Pokemon, loves Pokemon, tries to run a business, but doesn't understand the logistics. And then I'll hear someone that heard Pokemon's popping off because of a friend. They kind of understand it, but not really. They'll get into it because they know the business side of things, but then they end up getting tired of it, bored of it, and it just is something that they end up kind of failing out on because they miss a lot of opportunities by not actually having a true understanding of the market in which they're inside itself. I mean, a perfect example is I know of a store that refuses to sell or buy Pokemon product and absolutely despises it. They only just sell the bare minimum because they just absolutely hate it. They only care about Magic and sports cards, and their whole thing is that, Pokemon's for kids, grow up, be an adult, go play some Magic or collect sports cards, which is a crazy thing to tell people that are your customers. But it's one of those things where it's like, for them, there's just a market that a lot of opportunity has been missed from because they've run a successful business before and then they open a second location in a completely separate region and their business is not successful because they're neglecting a large base of individuals based off of their own prior biases. And then I've seen the opposite example happen where I knew a guy that got into Magic and was a huge Magic fan, started in LGS because of that, but knows 0 things about business. And I'm not even kidding you. I have no clue how this guy is surviving because his business hours are like 15 hours out of the week. And basically when you go to his like pre-live events for Pokemon, he has like single digit people show up and is barely making it by. And every time you would talk to him, you'd always talk about how the business is failing and he doesn't understand why people aren't showing up. But it's because he didn't market himself whatsoever. He just basically wanted a place for himself to be able to play, and they didn't have that in the town. And so he wanted to become that, but didn't bring any of that business acumen into his business to become successful. So it's like you're going to have to be able to really have the best of both worlds to maximize your potential profitability that you can have to become successful.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like this is not an easy industry, especially when you have so many different TCGs, different games, different avenues you can go into. You can, like I said, we do the gambit of things, and that helps out a lot because it covers when something sucks, if something goes down the drain, if Magic has a bad set, Pokemon bulk tanks in value, like all those things would have majorly impacted my business if I wasn't diversified in all these other things. It helps out a lot. You can lean on things, and when things aren't going well for one thing, you can hop over to the other thing and focus down on that and, make up the difference, hopefully. But the more people I talk to and the more people that I see, especially the people that open stores the past couple of years, is the either failure, like complete and utter failure of adapting to how the market and their player base and consumers want, and just again, like you said, the lack of knowledge of, okay, sealed product isn't stonking like crazy anymore. How do I make money now? They don't have the knowledge for playability. They don't have the knowledge of breaking things down. They don't have the knowledge of shipping. They don't have TCGPlayer. Like, geez, if you're a card store and you're not doing anything on TCGPlayer, like how are you surviving? Because that's insane to me. All these things, it is that all those things are interconnected, and they're all, a lot of the people that like anime and video games and TCGs and D&D, they all kind of mix together, and that's kind of like the nerd culture that we're in now, that there's so much overlap and overlay. But a lot of it is also that we have to have those things in order to function and run how we want to. Yes, my store could totally run off of just TCGs if I absolutely had to, but I'd have to cut a bunch of expenses and a lot of employees, and it'd be rough. All these things allow me to operate in a more functional manner than being just a bare bones operation.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is just, you have to be able to recognize this ain't going so hot no more. Let's focus on this, or start doing this, or change this. It's all so important, and it's a constant game of just little micro adjustments all the time. Every week, every month, something, just tweaking little things, try to get things to work. It's a lot of, your focus is everywhere. You're all over the place all the time, and it can be really hard just to focus on one thing, one task, one major goal, because you have so many other things that you're trying to juggle and make work all at the same time. It can be rough. And that's what a lot of people, they have a way of thinking that things are going to be a certain way, and they're not that way. And not only are they not that way, you're not making money, and you're miserable. It's one thing if you're making money and you're miserable, and you don't know anything. But when easy mode gets turned off, and you have to actually, like, oh shoot, know that scoop up net is a $2 card. That type of knowledge. It's a lot of people just don't have it, and they don't want to put in the work to do it. And that's how it's going to be rough for a lot of people.
Well, it's kind of funny. Speaking of adaptability, being someone who English Pokemon is my bread and butter, right? Like that is just my thing. And I mean, it's what my YouTube channel is all about, right? I always will be honest with people because people always ask me questions. Japanese, I know a decent amount of Japanese product, but if you really want to go talk to someone, I always recommend other channels if you're wanting to know more advanced things. And with that, when we went into starting the LGS, that was one of the biggest things I brought to the table. That was one of the biggest things we had a discussion about. Pokemon is going to be our main kind of source of revenue that we're going to focus on, right? We did not expect that to drastically change to Magic so quick. And it was the funniest thing because I remember like that was kind of our game plan was like Pokemon, and we named the store E4 because we felt as if it was a name for a store that was not going to box us in a corner, by naming it Pokemon related or Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, right? We wanted to be very diverse to opportunities that were being presented to us. And so being a place for Pokemon was something that we felt like was going to be a good spot. And then little did we know that there was a massive Magic community that, we still, of course, me being Pokemon, we still have a larger amount of Pokemon product, a large amount of singles. We still, of course, catered to Pokemon, but we've now transitioned to the majority of our sales. About 60% of it is purely Magic. And it's awesome to see because when it came to us picking out our WPN and starting to have, weekly nights for Magic, like last week, I'm not even kidding you, we had 45 people for Magic Night. And like I said, we technically opened our doors at the end of October. So we've been around for about, 2 months or so. And so for us to already have a full house where we had to, I kid you not, where our technical capacity for like tables was around like 40 people to like high 30s. And we had to go to a store nearby and go borrow one of their tables and chairs just so that we were able to fill the place with all of the individuals that were in our store for Magic Night. And it was like an eye-opening experience. And for me personally, I'm like, all right, I got to start learning more about Magic. I got to get into this more and get an understanding. Of course, my channel as a whole will remain Pokemon, but for me, myself as an individual, understanding my business, it's one of these things where it's like, I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to be like, yo, well, screw Magic. I don't care about Magic. Magic's for sweaty nerds that have Cheeto dust on their shirts, right? Like and as crazy as it sounds, I know tons of people that have mentality. It's, hey, there's a market here for a ton of Magic people that feel neglected. As a business owner, it would be smart to me to inform myself of what these individuals are so interested in Magic, what I can do to provide a service or platform for them to really enjoy it. And so we've had an absolutely flourishing Magic community, and my business partner who's in charge of the store right now, he's deep dived into Magic and has really started to learn the game and really started to learn the history of it. And it's been awesome to see how quickly things can change from your overall, business model or perspective of how you look at the store.
Yeah, I mean, and listening to your play base is super important. Like I was saying, like when we first started, we didn't do D&D. Like I didn't know. I didn't know a damn thing about D&D. I had no idea. Like, you want the little figures that you can paint? Okay, I guess. Yeah, I'll bring them in. Sure. Okay. You want me to stock books? Sure. Okay. Just that part of listening to people come in, and when they ask for something, instead of going, yeah, we don't carry that, and I'm going, okay, well, what should I carry? What do you want me to carry? What would you want to see when you come in here? All those types of things says that there's a need for those items, first of all, for that product, for that category. And for you to say, no, we don't do that, that's crazy. That is, as a business, that's bad. That's a bad, like, what are you doing? That's a bad business move. So you should always be saying, yes, how can I support you in doing this? To all customers when they say, can you carry this? Because at least look into it, give it a thought. Because if there's one person that walks in randomly and doesn't see it and asks you about it, there's potentially, 4 other people that walk in, see that you don't have it, and just don't say anything, that would buy it if you didn't. So that's how we grew and carry manga, and that's how we carry Gundam, and that's how we carry, all these things, like all these things that are now huge parts of my business that create the overall arching experience of my store. Is that it's all based on people asking. So super important to stay engaged and be in touch with not what you want to sell, but what you will sell and what you can sell.
Yeah.
And anything should be seen as a source of revenue. So and God knows that we need all the help we can get.
So we're going to ask a last couple of questions and kind of wrap things up here in the next half an hour, just because I wanted to allow everyone to have the opportunity to ask some questions. And I presume that these questions are not going to be like 1 to 2 minutes. They're going to probably be 5 to 10. So I figured I would still mention that.
We can start a timer. We can do a rapid fire. We can do
right.
Depends what's up.
And then I actually have a couple of questions for you after stream, if you don't mind sticking around for like another 10. Sure. A little personal questions. But let's start jumping through it. This one I thought was funny. I'm going to throw this off to you. We'll start doing rapid fire like you said. Pokémon says, question for Pokemart, but I'm asking for you. Is there a risk that booster box reprints will be held hostage by LGS's price spikes back to the top? I'm going to have you go first on that one. I thought that's funny.
Who is that from?
That's from Pokénaz is his name.
Oh, okay. Will I hold things ransom to inflate the price of them?
I think his idea is that is there an expectation
was this
that
at the beginning of the stream when we didn't just talk about how there's tons of online sellers that race to the bottom anyways?
Is there? I don't have a timestamp for it.
If that was what you gained out of this now almost 3-hour conversation, that is not what we meant at all. That's not possible. The amount of product and the amount of product that goes to non-LGSs, there is no way for us to like manipulate the pricing for a seal product. There's just no way. It's not possible. Like, it would take thousands of booster boxes, tens of thousands of booster boxes on the scale of that Pokemon prints to do anything, to even put a dent in any sort of manipulation or pricing or any of that. Like, that's not possible. And even if you said
a lot of LGSs were holding that product just to like hold on, no, let me get into my point. I know you're already like, sorry. I get it. You're passionate. I get it. Even if hypothetically a lot of LGSs were doing this, they would have to have a lot of additional capital to be able to store that, because the thing is that LGS, if they're like, oh yeah, I've got 1,000 booster boxes I'm just sitting on, if they do, they're gonna watch the price absolutely tank, while online prices are just going to continuously drastically go down. And so they're gonna miss a large portion of revenue off of the fact that the market is going to adjust without them. And so it's like there's zero incentive for you to kind of want to do that, because at that point you're just watching your, quote unquote capital investment, quote unquote held product that you're keeping for ransom. You're just watching the value of it continuously tank. I mean, hell, I remember when I first started doing I was one of my biggest things I learned is I would always set a small portion of product to the side. I would always have at least a small amount. I'd look at it as like a form of investment long term.
Sure.
And I remember when alternate arts were revealed, I thought they were going to be huge. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to keep a couple of cases of battle styles off to the side. Booster boxes, I'm able to sell them for $150 online. Like, prices are crazy right now. Battle Styles has some awesome new art designs. People are going to love Battle Styles. And I remember keeping some to the side. And then I remember when it got a reprint and prices went down to like 120. Or I shouldn't say reprint. I should say the next wave came out, because they were doing a wave system. And slowly over time, I continuously watched the price of Battle Styles get lower, lower, and lower. And there was a time where if I wanted to, I could have sold it at that 150 price. I could have sold it at that 120 price. But instead, I just kind of let it sit, because it was one of those things I said to myself was, a long-term investment that I didn't really need to care about. But then when you understand the concept of capital over time and how you're actually missing out on opportunity cost because you're trying to sit on a product that you can sell at such a higher point, and then you factor in that as a store you have overhead that you're now also having to accounting for, and it's locked in an investment that's just losing you value over time, it just doesn't make sense from a market perspective for a store to do that, because most of the time you're going to try and squeeze as much profit as you can out of it. And so it would make the most sense for stores to just sell it at the pre-sale price while prices are inflated, not trying to hope that prices will go up after it's been printed into the ground.
there's a lot of people out there that don't understand business. Let me just throw that as a broad statement. But to go into detail, for example, at the end of the year, any product that I'm holding is seen as an asset that I'm holding. I have to pay taxes on those assets. I don't want to hold things. That's bad. That's bad. Bad news. Because I have been shown that I have expended for those. I have to expend for that I'm going to eventually sell that item. Right? So, and therefore, until I sell it, if it's at a loss, it doesn't matter, what, blah, 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 it has value. So me holding anything for any amount of time that I could potentially lose my ass on is not in my business's best interest. In fact, I want to dump things as fast as possible. So at the end of the year, I don't have a bunch of stuff sitting there and hanging out. That's why Black Friday exists. That's why clearance sales at the end of the year is a thing, is because that's why people were blowing out UPCs, Charizard UPCs at $75, is because
taxes
on the books, that's $120. So that's how business works, and that's why some of these things do what they do. So yeah, I'm not holding anything. I'm not keeping anything. It doesn't do me any good. It is a detriment to me. I am losing money. I'm getting taxed on those items because it's like it's almost as good as cash.
Yeah.
And holding, and then that's seen as profit, and that's seen as taxable income.
Yeah. And that's kind of the biggest thing with Pokemon, is trying to differentiate between product, like business supplies or, business investments that you're able to, write off as a general business expense, versus you're having to calculate your overall profitability of your asset as it generates you revenue, and then say to yourself, how is this going to affect things once the tax man comes and starts to look over all of my general assets I have? Which, for the most part, for me, I've hired a tax professional who's been able to help me out with that.
As you should, always. That's the first. As soon as you start making money, and like having that, you should be paying an accountant and a tax attorney and somebody to watch all those things for you.
Yeah.
To make sure you're doing it right. You will save yourself so much money.
Seriously. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that.
Poke Department Store says, Mason, just buy from the store and hold it personally. Duh. Duh. Dude, why didn't I think of that? I should sell it back to the store at the beginning of the year. Tax loophole. Whoa.
What? And it's so funny too, because everyone says loophole, but in reality it's not a loophole. Like, these were put in place by individuals that wanted to take advantage of it, and then you as the individual have to either have someone that's going to teach you these things or be self-informed enough to be able to learn these things yourself. Like, it's not like, oh my god, like it's a scam, a loophole in the system. It's like, no, these were put in place. Like, I don't think people understand that.
And that's why you pay people to do that for you.
Yeah, whether you agree with it or not, they're there, and business.
Oh, that's irrelevant. Yeah.
Sure. That's the thing.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. I took 4 years of personal finance and investing classes from the age when I was young, and the biggest thing I always talk to people is how important it is to educate yourself, because I feel like there's a lack of knowledge nowadays when it comes to balancing a checkbook. I mean, I won't get into the details, but I have a buddy who, I've always been someone, because of my background, who's been good with finances. I have a buddy that, I'm not even kidding you, he spends money so fast that they have certain places that you work, they have like features that allow you to do advance pay, where you like pay yourself before, and there's a small fee. I'm not even kidding you, one of my buddies would have already spent all his money before he even received his paycheck, because he would spend money so fast, because no one ever taught him how to be good with money. And now, don't get me wrong, there are some people that are naturally like have certain personalities towards money, But the fact of the matter is a lot of these things can be prevented through proper education and understanding on just general business finance. And it's mind-blowing to me. It's just mind-blowing to me. Did you know, I learned this in high school. I've done research since then. The number's gone down, but the average age of an individual that opens a savings account is 35 years old. It used to be 40 5 years ago. And I was mind blown because there's so much of an expectation that your investment is going to be all wrapped up in Social Security and that you're going to be just having enough money to survive off of Social Security for the rest of your life. And I was like, whoa, that's scary, dude. That's scary. So like when we have a conversation about this business kind of with Pokemon, I'm like, it is so much more complicated and complex than most people realize. But yeah, is there any other more questions that you see that you want to kind of answer before we kind of wrap it up?
Let's see what we got here.
Patrick says, is it possible to write off Pokemon purchases as investments for a business that has nothing to do with TCG? From what I have experienced from talking with my own personal accountant, she has informed me that unless I am creating any form of profit off of that general product purchase and the way in which I have valued that item, I systematically can write it off as a business. It's kind of like, how do I want to say this? It's like if you were to buy stamps for your business at 55 cents and then all of a sudden the price of stamps goes up to 60 cents. You're not going to get taxed over the fact that stamps went up 5 cents. But if you are saying to yourself that you have a general investment for your business itself, where it's presumed to be a form of an asset that brings value and generates value, it's kind of like with, if you look at the tax code for like general investments, the government isn't going to, with the current tax code, they're not going to tax you unless you're making an actual transactional sale. So like, for example, like cryptocurrencies, right? And general stocks, they've been really cracking down on it. I think they changed it to, if you make a purchase of over 400 or a sale of over $400, you have to report it under your taxes. And so they always talk about the biggest thing with that is just don't sell, just look at it as a long-term form of investment. So, you know, from what I've been told, as long as you're sitting on it and you're not accruing, you know, any quote unquote form of investment, and it was purchased as a form of a, you know, business expense, then you should be fine. But there's so many complications on how you file that, and that's part of the thing that I don't really know because I'm hiring someone to do that professionally for me. but that's getting into the weeds with it, you know. I don't know if you have any comments on that. You're just like, I don't know what to say. Mason, are you there?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me?
No, I'm sorry. I did respond. I said that's what I pay people to answer these questions for. And,
yeah, right.
So ask those smarter people than me.
Exactly. It's like I said, I relay what my CPA says, but at the same time, I'm making it seem less complicated for people to understand. But in reality, she's the one that does everything for me and makes it seem less complex than it really is. Right. So
check your local laws and ordinances and ask a professional.
Yeah, seriously.
Local to you.
Seriously, but yeah, Mason,
you don't do anything with MetaZoo, do you?
No, I don't. So right now, our store sells magic.
Oh, we can stop. We can stop it right there if you don't.
What?
We can just stop right there. We don't have to talk about MetaZoo.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't do MetaZoo. I just do Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon for the store. Okay. We're looking into doing MetaZoo and Fab. Those are the next two, and then Wise after that. Everyone keeps telling us about One Piece. Everyone keeps telling us about One Piece, but like,
well, you can't stock it, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, yeah, it's like I was talking to my business partner. He's like, hey, what are your thoughts on One Piece? Because I know a guy that can get it for us at MSRP, and I'm like, is that a good thing? I don't really know One Piece. And he's like, honestly, bro, I think it's a fad. And when it dies out, it's just not going to be worth it. And to my knowledge, there's only 1 or 2 distributors I know that even carry it if it is in stock. And it's just not like...
Correct.
I'm just like...
Bandai only works with Alliance and GTS. They're the only people that you can buy Dragon Ball Super, Digimon, yeah, One Piece, all those Bandai TCGs. You can only get them from 2 places.
Yeah,
I never monopoly, and it creates incentive for people to buy into those heavily because they buy from those distribution companies, and they just sit on them and manipulate the market. But hey, that's for another live.
Right, and I never disclosed those distributors because I feel like for myself,
why?
I don't know. I've just always tried to be good about that.
Up. Who cares?
I mean, to be fair, GTS Distribution, they're not one of my distributors because
they suck anyways. Don't do it.
Yeah, I know. Well, so it's funny. I have some amazing sales reps. See, I will say this positively. I have an amazing sales rep. Shout out to my man at Southern Hobby. And he actually was a former store owner himself, owned a store for 5 years. And then eventually when he moved from California, he, I'll say his name, shout out to Adam. When he moved, yeah, right. When he moved, he became a sales rep at Southern Hobby. And I said,
nice.
Give me the lowdown, be completely honest, transparent. Because I'm going to always buy from you guys first. But if there isn't product you have in stock, do you have any other distributors you recommend? And one of the ones he said was the worst was GTS. Yep. And so, sure. Yeah, that was one that he was like.
And people like, I'll tell you guys right now, like, and this is me blowing up distributors, so if you don't want me to...
Go for it. I'm excited for this one, man.
So, Magazine Exchange is one of the companies, or one of the distributors that, like, openly... Like, hey, we're going to charge whatever the hell we want for something. You either buy it or you'll buy it from us next week when we lower the price. It's that kind of place for like restocks for stuff. You can go onto Magazine Exchange's website and see all the deals that they have. Distributor pricing. It's not a secret. Like, they put it out there in the open. You don't have to log in to see it. Just, you can go to, type in Google, Magazine Exchange. Go to there. You can see all the deals that we're getting from them. And again, they're one of the most expensive. So, first perspective, if you want to ever get bored, check it out. That's what we're dealing with.
Well, to my knowledge, at least from my personal experience, I don't think they're that different from most other distributors. I think Southern Hobby's the only one that I know of that consistently doesn't raise their prices. I think that they've always, like, not raise their prices in terms of inflation, but like, if, let's say, there's a reprint for Evolving Skies, they're still going to charge wholesale for what they're getting it for. Versus most other distributors.
We'll see.
Yeah, right. We'll see if that changes.
They never have it in stock, so we would never know. But
yeah, it's going to be allocated out for sure.
Magazine Exchange is going to have it in stock, but it's going to be more expensive.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Them, Mad Al. That's the only 2 that I really used for that type of stuff. But it's going to be more expensive, but what am I going to do? Not buy it?
Well, for MagX...
So that's the excuse. That's the excuse is like,
right.
You're either going to buy it or you're not. Somebody else is going to buy it if you don't.
Well, for me with MagX, I would always get, if for like when Evolving Skies came out, I got a wholesale rate that they gave me, which was allocated to me, and then anything after that was basically what they had on their weekly specials.
I think that's standard for most people. Is that,
so just
whatever that one rate is right at the first little wave, and then all the rest of it is whatever. Yeah. That might even be a thing that they assign or they sign on when they get product from like Wizards or Pokemon. It's probably a thing that they. And so out of the gate, you can't charge people dummy amounts. But.
So Pokénaz, to answer your question back on holding product hostage, if anyone's gonna do it, I would be less concerned about. Yeah, I'd be less concerned about retailers and more just concerned about distributors, because there are some specific distributors.
Where distributors actually factually did do that. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, since we're just calling distributors out there.
We're not. We're just saying.
We're just okay.
I'm not saying anything that's not already out in the public.
Fair enough. Because I was about to say, Sweet D Distribution.
Who?
Sweet D.
Sweet D.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever heard of them?
No. What? That's not a thing.
Oh yeah, buddy. It's a thing.
Sweet D.
Yep. Sweet D is the name of the distribution. and they are the
What do they sell?
worst. They're the worst I've ever experienced. The customer service was terrible, first and foremost. The sales, the guy who runs it is basically like, either you buy product from me or you get the frick away from me. I don't need you kind of mentality.
There is a distributor that we use for Japanese card games who will send you a PayPal friends and family invoice to deal with the product. And that's how you buy things.
For Japanese?
Yep.
Can you
Not Japanese. I'm sorry, not Japanese. Like the card games from Japan, like Vanguard.
Oh, okay.
Not Japanese product. God, that'd be the dream. But
I was about to say you have a Japanese distributor. I was like, yo, so after stream, we gonna have a conversation.
Like this is like an actual like on the listed websites as like an unofficial distributor that sends you PayPal invoices.
Yeah.
Friends and family.
Well, that's exactly this guy. That's exactly this guy. He only accepts.
They're out there.
He only accepts Zelle or PayPal friends and family, and his prices for product. And you know what's even worse? They charge you the rate of whatever they have to pay for UPS, and they don't disclose that information of what the rate is until they've shipped it to you. So you don't even know how much you're paying for shipping. Like there was one time where literally, and they're located in California, and I'm in Arizona, right? So they're not far. They shipped out 2.5 booster boxes or cases, and it cost them $45 to ship to me, and I had to pay the shipping for that, and that was the last time I ordered from them. And I'm not even kidding you. I'm like, bro, I could have gotten that for $30, like 35 using my rates, and they're paying more, and I'm like, I don't know what to trust. And then on top of that, they're also scalping on how much they're charging. So it's like, it's bad. So it's bad. Kinsiki, to answer your question, you have to log in to know the actual wholesale rates. He's just saying that Magazine Exchange, this is public information. They have a weekly specials page that is viewable to the public. So he's just saying the weekly specials page.
Yeah, I did not mean to confuse you. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you click the weekly specials tab, you'll see exactly the prices that they want for things.
Yeah. So, but just
sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, just so that people understand what the weekly specials are, which sometimes they're a great deal. I mean, that Charizard deal, 75 plus an Alolan V-Box, which I know they raised it this week, but that was a good deal.
It used to be they were doing. What were they doing? They were doing like I think the Shadow Rider theme decks, which are actually good theme decks, have good playable stuff in them. You can actually break them down and make money potentially. They were free for Charizard UPC, so that's kind of sick. Yeah,
they did Shadow Rider, and then they did the Pogo Tins, and then now they're the Alolan V boxes, if I'm correct, for the Executors. If I'm correct.
Pogo still does great for me. I don't know what I still sell Pokemon Go stuff.
Yeah, I guess I'm just sleeping on Pogo product because I can't seem to move it. I'm like, I can't seem to move it. Like in store, it'll move fine, but like online, it's just like a bloodbath. Good luck. So it's definitely interesting. But is there any final points you want to kind of make before we wrap this 3-hour stream up?
Tyrone Smith asks, how many chicken nuggets can I eat? I could probably reasonably eat. We're talking like McDonald's chicken nuggets. I could probably polish off 20 before I start feeling bad, like real.
So the reference to that is I did a live stream where someone said that they would pay me to eat as many chicken nuggets as I could, and they wanted to see, and I did a live of it.
How many did you eat?
Oh my god, I failed so miserably.
What do you mean?
I said I could do 60 easy, and I ended up only doing 40. And I ended up only doing 40.
40 is...
Well, in my defense, the chicken nuggets that I got were cold when I received them, and they were soggy but dry on the inside. And I kid you not, my strategy was to just, chunk it down without any sauce, hoping that I would just, for efficiency's sake, chug it down faster. Big mistake. When you're eating raw chicken nuggets that are barely cooked right and are cold and you don't have any sauce to cover the flavor, I almost puked, not because I ate too much, but because of how grossed out I was by the poor chicken nuggets.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, like I said, 20 if I want to like not feel awful.
Yeah. No.
40 would be like, I'm gonna go throw up right after I eat and swallow the 40th one.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so good. Oh my gosh. Any other questions that you see?
Mr. Mime in French is asking, can anyone be accepted from Southern Hobby, or do you need an LLC? You definitely need a business license, bare minimum.
Yeah.
To sell certain products, they're going to ask you for other things. But you at least need a federal tax ID, for sure.
So, to my knowledge and from my experience, the only store that is giving availability to other than LGSs is ACD Distribution, and I don't know if Magazine is. Magazine used to be, but then they changed that after COVID. I don't know if they've changed it back, but in terms of game stores, the majority are LGS, like 95 to 90% of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, so because I was not getting, like, I signed up for 8 distributors during the pandemic, and only 2 of them responded to me, and the rest of them said, do you have an LGS? I said no, and they said sorry. But now that I have an LGS,
But
all of them
now,
respond.
hey,
Now all of them were. I've got Alliance consistently calling me like, "Are you gonna make an account with us yet?" And I'm like, "We'll talk." So it's weird to have the shoe on the other foot. So it's kind of funny. But just for those curious. But Hills Wholesale Gaming. But
yeah,
right.
I've heard of Hills. I went on there and it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's whatever. It's really hard after like 5 years of building up a reputation with I buy from 4 consistently, enough to be like relevant. But yeah, once you have that built up, they tend to be at least pretty decent to you. So
yeah,
to get somewhere now, it's just like I'd be no better off going to somebody else and getting like 3 boxes of Crown Zenith ETBs.
Yeah.
Like I'm good.
It's like money talks, but also at the same time, proof of money talking is huge. So it's like you're gonna not only get accepted to a distributor, but then you're also going to have to build up a bunch of purchases through product that's not available in order to get access to higher demand product. So it's like a system itself that it's like extremely difficult. So hypothetically speaking, right? Let's say 2 months ago you got a distributor and you're wanting to get Crown Zenith product before pre-orders closed. You're more than likely going to get very little to no allocations unless you've had an account that's had sales history to be able to actually show proof that you're spending money. So if you just came in and were like, I got a distributor now, I'm going to be able to get a ton of Crown Zenith, it's like, no, they're going to allocate it out to people that have spent X amount of money and have been with them for X amount of years or months or however much.
I mean, I got my amount cut. And again,
that sucks, dude.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's tough.
Mr. Mime, I don't know how that works.
What's he
but there are plenty of people that do exactly what you are talking about doing, and do those drop shipping of like cases of product. Like there was like people that had like, used tire stores and stuff, and they were buying Pokemon and just putting it on the Facebook marketplace or Facebook groups and just slapping a label on it and making $40 a case, and happy to do so, just for nothing, doing nothing basically. So yeah, I don't know how far in they look into it, but yeah, it exists.
Yeah.
You would be, that's not an original thought, just putting it out there.
I know a shop that used to be an LGS and then turned
It used to be
an LGS, but it failed, and then it turned into a vape shop. But then they kept all of their Pokemon product distributors, and they sell Pokemon in the vape shop, which is extremely, extremely illegal, but they're doing it.
Sick, bro.
I'm not advising for it because that is totally against Pokemon's contractual agreement that you have.
Yeah, they probably definitely don't want to, they're not going to be getting their official Play Pokemon account. They can't have a league in a vape shop.
No. Definitely not. So people will definitely try and work the system for sure.
In fact, they were throwing flags on mine because they asked if I have any, mature rated things. I'm like, well, I sell mature video games, so kinda. And they're like, they wanted to like clarify. I was like, yes,
Wow.
video games, and they're like, oh yeah, that's cool. They were cool. I mean, they just
Yeah.
because I said yes, because like I knew they'd be cool with it because I already have a store that does that. Obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, they care. They actually look into it and they care. So
It's crazy.
is 425 shipping a good deal for Crown Zenith ETB case? We pay $30 for them. So
Yeah. Take that how you will.
they will happily take the $12 box on that for sure. Shipped, yeah. That's a win if you don't care, and a win for you as a consumer.
I think the cheapest I've seen is $40. I think market is starting to drop down to $430 now. It's crazy how Crown Zenith has fallen so much for such an awesome
It is
set.
what it is.
Yeah, I think people are sleeping on it. I won't shut up about it.
People are dumping Celebrations ETBs too, so
I mean, I said the same thing with Evolving Skies when Evolving Skies was on pre-order and you could get it for $115 a booster box, $120 a booster box, and I said that and this was after you had Battle Styles pre-selling at $150, Chilling Reign pre-selling at $140, $150. To have the follow-up of that be Evolving Skies that now is pre-selling at $115, $120, I'm like, what's going on? And then of course it gets reprinted, and then I was selling it on my website for $105 a box, and I'm like, yeah guys, this is dumb. This set's super good.
So Mr. Mime, buy 4 cases and see if they'll do 400.
Oh, I've never done that before. That's such a good point. I mean, if you're not if you're messaging an actual business, they will do deals like that with you. I've had people who've done that to me before, where they will message me, say how much stock you have for a certain product, and be like, what's the price you're willing to sell it? And as long as it's not a high demand product, I will do it, because if it's product that's been sitting there for a while and I'm trying to move it and I can get a discount and walk away at least making some money. Now, if it's like a CUPC, then I'm going to, of course, make it limit per customer because it's a high demand product and I want everyone to get it. But if it's like, yo, I got Battle Styles booster boxes that I've been sitting on for the past 6 months to a year, and it's not moving at $95, and someone's like, yo, if I buy everything you have, will you sell it to me for $90? I'm like, we can work something out. So you never know.
This is classic. This is classic buyer mentality. Yeah, I'm waiting for 375 a case. It's like, it's never good enough. It's never a good enough deal.
Bro,
I saw a Facebook Marketplace post for them that they already had them in stock for 375. So I'm holding out.
Bro, that's
exactly what I was talking about. Once the floor gets established, it's not a good deal unless
I know. Well, that's what I told people with the Charizard Ultra Premium collection. As the price continuously adjusted, I basically told people to buy it once the price stabilized. And I said, once the price stabilized, you move. If it's like, I don't know, if let's say the price is at TCGPlayer $200, but you can find other sites that are going to sell it for 170, 180, then that's a decent price. But if a week later you're noticing that it drops to 160 and then a week later it drops to 140 and you're seeing the continuous volatility of the product price move, then maybe you should wait until it's sat at a price for a month and it hasn't moved up or down, because it's better to be patient before you jump in on a price point. So for me personally, watching Crown Zenith, it's kind of stabilized around that $40 to $43. And considering the fact of the matter that this is an awesome set, I don't expect this to be a set that's all of a sudden going to just drop down to the high 30s. Like, I think that you don't need to be greedy on a set that already has such an amazing opportunity. If it's one that, let's say, for example, is like, let's say it's an item that's extremely hot and it's just slightly dropped in value, then sure, that's one where you can be like patient on because there's so many other opportunities. But if it's one where it's like, hey, this one's already dirt cheap and there's no point of trying to, wait for it, then I don't see the point of being greedy.
Yeah, I did see that Pokemon was saying in the chat that they are 500 a case on TCGPlayer.
On TCGPlayer?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And Mr. Mine was talking about that apparently on Hills Wholesale is what they're doing for $4.25.
Well, I know that
Hills is not an official Pokemon distributor. Let me say that.
yeah.
You go to the Pokemon's website and see all the distributors. Hills is not on there, so they are buying them in bulk from another distributor and passing not the savings but the extra cost onto you.
Right.
So.
And what was I gonna say? There's something. Oh yeah. Danny Phantom was selling them on Coliseum for $43 a pop at one point. I think that's what I was seeing them sell for.
Danny's a beast. Danny is just incredible.
Elaborate what you mean by that. I'm just curious.
Have you ever talked with him or had a?
Come on, man.
I don't know if
you were neglecting me. You think he's gonna talk to me? No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely, Danny talks with everybody.
Really? Oh my god,
For
I wish.
sure.
I've messaged Danny before. He's never
busy
gotten back to
and he's
me.
got a lot going on, but he don't responds.
Really? I've never
anyways.
gotten a response.
Oh, so you've tried to, and he just hasn't talked to you back.
No. Well, the only time I've messaged him is I asked him if he'd come on the stream.
Oh.
I haven't messaged him anything outside of that because I don't know what else I would message him, I guess.
Yeah, we were talking about machines, like that man.
Oh yeah. In terms of like what he does from online, in terms of what he does for the business, in terms of all of it.
Yep. He's just one of the hardest working people probably in this industry.
Does he only have one store or multiple?
He doesn't have a store. He ships all of that out of his house.
Whoa.
And they did bulk. I don't know. I won't speak to, but yeah, he's talking about like getting like 9 pallets of Pokemon products like delivered to his house.
Whoa. He doesn't have a distributor? An LGS? I thought he did.
Negative. Nope.
So then him and Papa Blastoise, what's this?
They're just asses and elbows, just doing the work, man. How did doing it.
He must have got his distributors then before the pandemic. I mean, he's been around for a while.
Drove down to Mad Al in a U-Haul to get product one time.
Wow.
Just overnight. Like nonstop. The man is a beast. I'm telling you.
That's insane.
Like those are the stories of Danny that are not told and just propel him into the stratosphere as like dudes that are like idolized and like
Mr. Mime says
a genuine hustler.
He looks like he works 20 hours a day.
Yeah, and then he goes out and runs like God. Can you imagine? Just God.
Have you had like an actual conversation, like talk with him before, like more than just texting back and forth?
Yeah, once or twice. Normally I talk to him on like Discord, but yeah, he's a just most genuine, hardest working dude you could ever talk to. Dude's the real deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I've been following him for a couple of years now, and I've always taken value out of his content, but he's definitely not someone that I've really gotten to know outside of that. So yes. I've never been able to give a firm opinion on that regard, other than I enjoy his content. He seems like a pretty cool dude. Nothing.
Yeah, he's a awesome dude. He's like Pokemon Fun Sunday, and he was working full time last year, still doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, wild, like insane.
Wow, really? He was working another job too?
Yes.
How?
Yeah. Look, I just barely quit my job last year. I was working part-time, but
wow.
I worked 80 hours a week for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was working...
That's what it takes.
I was working... The most I was working was 100 hours a week, and I was averaging less sleep than I would like to admit. But that was also with me doing this, like, 20 hours a week, maybe? 30 hours a week? But now it's like... It was one of those things where my kind of goal was not when I became financially stable with the business, but when I became financially stable plus I can continuously grow as a business is when I told myself I was going to kind of do it. And I told myself I was going to do it as soon as I could. Because for me, I was just working all those other jobs so that I could just take that money and just put it back in the business. So it's like, that's crazy that he would still be working another job if he's ordering that many pallets of Pokemon. Like, that's insane.
The dude is a machine.
Yeah, no, seriously, dude. Holy crap. Wow.
Nothing but respect.
Yeah.
For Danny.
I mean, that's great. Well, I would, like I said before, I would love to have him on the podcast, but he's a busy guy, so I doubt, you never know. But it would be nice to at least have a conversation.
I'll see what I can do for you.
Yeah?
Maybe pull some strings. No. I have no pull at all.
But just trolling me. That'd be so funny. Hey, yo, I got this guy.
If I had any sort of like ability to do anything, I would do it for you.
Oh, that's
look, see?
I'm blushing now.
It means nothing. It's a completely empty statement, but
it seemed genuine, at least. I don't know.
I mean, it is genuine, but like I said, it's not going to do a damn thing. But I'll try.
That's so funny. Holy buckets. Yeah, right. That's so
Holy
funny.
buckets.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. But
the green shiz is here. Hi, Josh. The blanket's in my car. I use it as when it's cold. I put it over my legs. It's beautiful. He bought me for a Secret Santa. He did it's of all the Arcanine's my favorite Pokemon, and it's like all the Pokemon Arcanine cards on a fleece blanket.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's awesome. Arcanine's your favorite Pokemon. It's a good one.
Yeah, what's yours? I don't know. What is it?
Well, I have, for me, mine's, and you can probably guess the general theme, but I have a different favorite Pokemon for each type, like legendary, pseudo-legendary. Cool. So my favorite legendary is Giratina. My favorite pseudo-legendary is Garchomp. My favorite mythical is Darkrai, and my favorite starter is Turtwig to Torterra.
Okay.
So who would have guessed that my theme is that I would be a huge Gen 4 fan?
Hey, I can respect that. It's pretty cool.
I mean, I just for me, I just love those designs of the Pokemon. I thought they were the coolest designs growing up as a kid, and I still love them. I mean, typing doesn't really matter to me. I just was like, this is cool. Like, there's a lot of dragon Pokemon. I'm like, yo, this looks dumb. Like, hot take, I know people are going to get mad at me, but I don't care for Goodra. I don't think Goodra looks cool. And I think the new version, where it looks like a flotation device, like a pool raft, I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm like, I know people are going to get pissed at me for saying that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a Gen 4 fanboy. What can I say? So, but
hey, I get it.
But Arcanine is a good one. Arcanine was the reason why I was pissed I had Leaf Green as a kid.
Arcanine's it's a sleeper favorite, I think. It's pretty popular, for real.
Yeah, no, Arcanine's always been a good one. I was definitely sad they didn't have a holo version of it for Base Metal Limited. That was disappointing.
We finally got a trainer gallery. But no ultra rare. Other than the break cards.
Oh yeah.
If you count that in the trainer gallery.
Yeah.
But no other higher rarity than that.
Well, let's see what it's gonna get in Scarlet Violet base set.
It's gonna get Scarlet Violet. It already has an EX, so yeah. Hopefully we'll get something super epic. It'd be awesome. Love it.
It's crazy to me. I mean, if you literally break down the history of Pokemon, just have a chandelier
on its head, but it's fine.
I've had certain people message me like, did you know there's only X amount of this Pokemon that has been printed into a card? And it's mind-blowing when you look at like Alakazam, Kazam.
Oh, yeah.
Or Kadabra, sorry. It's like, holy crap. Like, I didn't realize there's certain cards, they just get zero love whatsoever. Like,
Pokemon definitely favors some Pokemon in the TCG, for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Like, Chandelure gets tons of love.
Oh my gosh, I don't get that.
Garbodor gets all the love.
Upsetting.
it's just there's some out there that just are super popular for some reason. Tons of other cool dark Pokemon, cool poison Pokemon. Nope. Another Garbodor card. Enjoy it.
I'm
Just
just
like, jeez.
I'm still mad over the fact of the matter that they have in Astral Radiance Darkrai as the main ETB box, but they never got an alt art for it. That pissed me off so much. I was like, as someone who's a huge Darkrai fan, it makes me mad. That doesn't make sense. Like, okay, Evolving Skies, Evolutions, all got alt arts. Brilliant Stars, you got an alt art for the Arceus. Mew for Fusion Strike. Chilling Reign, the Riders. But no, Astral Radiance? Oh, nope. It's, to my knowledge, the only set of the alt art era for Sword and Shield where they didn't give an alt art for the actual box design. And that upsets me a lot because it's my favorite mythical Pokemon. And it was the one that got the shaft. So, I mean, I'm glad they're bringing a V-Star alt art, but I wanted the regular V for... I mean, I think that would have added so much value to the set as well, like, for Astral Radiance, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but who knows in that one. But all right, I think we're going to start wrapping up right here. Any final statements that you want to make before we kind of finish it up here on the stream side of things?
No, I mean, I could go for another 3 hours, but that's the reality of that we are that it's got to end. We can't just be a 12-hour stream.
I know. I've got so many business messages I have to respond to, and I'm like, all right, I still have questions I wanted to ask you after this, so I'm looking at the clock, like, I gotta get going soon here. I usually go for 2 hours, so we're over by an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh,
so.
well, shoot. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah. Well, my plan was to, with you, at least go an extra hour was my thing, so I'm like, all right, we're definitely cooking past that. So
okay, so that's part of my Patreon package if you want to go, and it's $200 at that tier, so you get an hour conversation with me.
Wait, actually? No. I was like, whoa, my God, do I have an invoice that I'm going to have to send after this?
You know, you might have one more business email to answer. No, it's fine. No big deal.
Oh, that's so funny. That's good, dude. That's good. I like that. Alrighty then. Well, then we'll just wrap it up here. I want to first and foremost thank you guys once again so much for supporting the channel, getting us to 5K. Super duper excited. Next goal is hopefully to see if we can hit 10K by the end of the year. That would be awesome goal. Can't thank you all enough. Can't thank once again Mason with Cardinal for coming on. Super stoked we were able to be humbled by his presence and to have the opportunity to be able to have him on as a guest. Thank you seriously so much.
It's not going to take as much effort next time.
Oh, I appreciate
if you want to get it back on there.
Hey, I love that. I mean, seriously though, dude, I definitely am like very, very, very grateful that you came onto the pod because sorry, my screen froze. So I'm super stoked we were able to make this happen. So I can't say anything else but thank you. And this was awesome. I had a blast. This was so fun.
Thanks, chat. Thanks, chat, for hanging out. Appreciate it.
But as far as it goes, everyone, that is all for today's video. You want to enter into our weekly giveaways? Make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But